for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment 32, 36, and 38 Grand Avenue South has been pulled from tonight's agenda, will not be coming forward at this time. Mr. Bromberg will be speaking to this to explain why this is happening. But first we will rise from closed session. Councillor Devine, you have that motion. Would you like the clerk to read it?
Please.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Devine, seconded by Councillor Earnshaw, that council rise from the closed sessions meetings of September 22nd and September 23rd and reconvene in open session at 6:38 p.m.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to call for that vote.
Councillor Schwery. See your hand. Councillor Devine.
Aye.
Councillor Kimpson. Councillor Earnshaw.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts. I see your hand. Councillor Cooper.
In favor.
Councillor Hamilton. I see you. Thank you. And Councillor Mehta.
In favor.
And Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
And that carries unanimously.
During closed session, discussions occurred with council and staff related to an enforcement matter, confidential legal advice, and a confidential security matter. Please note that City of Cambridge Council meetings are broadcast on the city's YouTube page and are archived on the city's website. It is imperative that we as City Council promote public participation using a variety of methods, including YouTube. On that note, our last council meeting had 184 views on YouTube and 0 delegations. So we will, Madam Clerk, complete a roll call of council so that we can confirm everyone's attendance as we are coming to you electronically today.
Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Ermetta.
Present.
Councillor Kimpson.
Present.
Councillor Roberts.
Present.
Councillor Cooper.
Present.
Councillor Schwery.
Present.
Councillor Earnshaw.
Present.
Councillor Devine.
Aye.
Thank you.
So we have staff from various divisions joining us this evening, and they will join the meeting when their item is up for discussion. In the room with me currently, we have 2 members of our IT staff. We have 3 members from our clerk's department, including the city clerk. We will now sing the national anthem. Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all its command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. We stand on guard for thee. We embrace our shared responsibility with the First Nations people to take care of this earth and its creatures. We can only do so by walking the path as partners stewarding this land, since we have been given the duty together to live in balance and harmony with all living things. We acknowledge and respect the Anishinaabe, the Chinookan, and the Haudenosaunee peoples who came before us and who we live amongst today. By honoring this truth of past and present, may we come to true reconciliation through listening, reflecting, and learning. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank everyone for joining us this meeting. We appreciate your participation. And as we come together to serve the community, I ask that we create a welcoming and positive environment for everyone that includes respect, that we listen to each other with care, speak thoughtfully, and engage kindly with one another. Kindness, that we treat everyone, council staff, and the public with respect and understanding. And inclusion, that we embrace diverse perspectives and respect each other's opinions. Together, we can make this meeting space one where respect, kindness, and inclusion are at the heart of everything we do, that this is a safe space. Behavior that is disrespectful, disruptive, aggressive, or intimidating will result in those individuals being asked to leave. A reminder to members of council that the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act requires council members to declare any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to a matter under consideration. Are there any such declarations this evening? Not seeing any. Okay. To be respectful and mindful of everyone's time, we are changing the order of the meeting this evening to allow all pre-registered delegates to speak first. Then we will continue to discuss and vote on each item in order of the published agenda. Once they have spoken, delegates are encouraged to follow along on the city's YouTube channel should they wish. We have 13 pre-registered delegation requests this evening, and I will call each delegate in the order that we received their delegation request. Okay, so the first delegate is Tom Smith, Galt Observatory. Are you here, Tom? And this is an item that's not up for vote or decision making tonight. This is strictly a presentation by a member of the public. Click *6. Are you there, Tom? Tom, if you can hear me, please click *6 to unmute. Somebody in contact with him? There he is. I can see him. Tom, we can see you in the screen, but you need to click *6 to unmute yourself. We're going to move on to the next delegate while we try to help Tom through getting on board here. So the second person up is Jeff Donkersgood. We'll just let you out of the waiting room. Jeff is gone. Okay, next person up is June Anderson. We will wait for June to come online. People are in the waiting room, so it's just a matter of them. Oh, sorry, forget it, June. We've got Jeff online now. Jeff, you're on mute. Can you hit *6, please?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we are. You have 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, and I appreciate you so much taking the time to hear me today. My name is Jeff Donkersgood. I am a Ward 2 resident here in the city of Cambridge, and I'm speaking tonight to support you all, to support this motion, for preventing the forced removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events. First, I really wish we were all in person tonight so we could speak about this issue face to face, but I totally respect and understand council's decision tonight with reference to security issues. It's just unfortunate, and it's sort of the sign of the times that we're kind of living in. I want to talk about two issues that I am seeing with reference to criticisms with reference to this, this motion. That being that there's fear that such a motion would entrench encampments in our society. And the other one that this is nothing more than a political stunt. And I absolutely disagree with these assertions. First off, I know that you are all very well aware of the issues facing our unhoused community. And it's unfortunate we've reached a point where we have to kind of look at things with a very compassionate lens. Because here's the thing, without support from federal, provincial, and municipal governments, and as well needing supports from various building corporations and all of our community groups and associations, if we don't have all of these sort of partners on side, come up with real and tangible solutions to deal with affordability, accessibility, mental health, substance abuse, and of course, housing. Unfortunately, if we don't deal with that, encampments are going to become a reality. They already are. Encampments are a source of community for people who are unhoused. It is why we see situations where when people are able to get assistance, able to get temporary housing, whether that be in hotels or in shelters, eventually they become disillusioned because they're not getting the support they need, and they come back to an encampment because they have that sense of community. So it's unfortunately, we're already at this situation. It is why motions like this, which aren't about, isn't necessarily going to do anything asking for evictions, it's just to simply study to see if we can actually prevent this from happening during extreme weather events. The second one critique I have is around people stating that this is nothing more than a political stunt. And here's the thing. At the municipal level, as local politicians, you're most on the ground seeing the issues at stake. It is not at a provincial level with our members of provincial parliament. It is not at the federal level with members of parliament. You are the ones that are on the ground seeing the issues. So for me, you have some power to be creative. You have the power here to support a motion, to show compassion and care, to deal with an issue while you're waiting for further supports to happen at the provincial and the federal level. That is kind of where we are at with this situation.
Jeff, I'm going to interrupt you for a section. I need you to bring it back to the motion itself. I'm trying
Absolutely.
to be, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to steer everybody tonight. So I know everybody's passionate.
I totally understand.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it, but for me, while I understand that there are people that we need to advocate, and we need to be ensuring that we do find all those resources to assist people, this is one that will be ensuring that we are compassionate, that we care about our community, and we change the channel, because right now this is where we can work at. So I urge you all to support this motion tonight, and I'm going to cede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions from anybody? I see none. Thank you. Do we have Tom Smith yet? Oh, there, Tom. Can you hit *6 to unmute? There we go. We got you.
Okay.
So just a reminder, to council here tonight, there's no direction, motions, anything on this. This is strictly a delegate doing a presentation tonight. Go ahead, Tom, you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you. Your worship and councillor, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. Last May at the Fire Hall Museum and the Amazing Cambridge collaborated on a weekend event to recognize the 50-year anniversary of the flood of '74. And when I saw the promotional article, I contacted the committee, who encouraged us to tell the story of after the flood. So myself and Ken DiPodesta made a presentation to about 150 people at the old post office Ken was the lead project engineer consultant for the GRCA flood protection program, and I was the coordinator of development in the Community Services Department and liaison to the Riverbank Committee. After our presentation, the one element that generated the most questions and interest from the audience was the old Galt Observatory, or what we once referred to as the turret. We're here tonight because of the response that this project received from that audience last May. And I should mention that we have about a dozen people that are also helping us since last May to work on this project. If you could move to the next slide, please. In '83, the Riverbank realized that it needed a comprehensive plan for the entire stretch of the river in order for it to be successful. The city needed the ability to work with the Conservation Authority in planning the future annual capital improvements. We were always getting caught last minute scrambling for ideas. So 3 years of work went into the creation of the Living Levee. This is a cover shot of that document that was completed and adopted in 1986. Each section of the riverbank flood protection that was planned, this plan established the design intent for the top of bank works for that section of riverbank. And the plan includes letters of support from the BIA, Heritage Cambridge, LACAC, Chamber of Commerce, and the Grand River Conservation Authority. Next slide, please. In 1988, the work was planned from Park Hill Road to Main Street on the west bank of the river. And the observatory was intended to be built at the base of Blair Road at Melville Street, beside Trinity Anglican Church. And the function was twofold. One was to provide access to the river through a circular staircase internally. And the second was to have a series of 9 interpretive plaques on top of the lookout, pointing out buildings and structures on the east bank of architectural or historic importance. Next slide, please. This is a site plan from the Living Levee document that shows the work that was completed on the east bank on the right side of the slide, and then the turret located at the base of Blair Road on the west bank. Next slide, please. This slide was a concept of the observatory that was developed a little bit further as it got closer to capital budget approval. And this is a concept that was presented to council in 1987 and 88. Next slide. And this is only a partial view of the observatory from the observatory location, and it's to highlight buildings on the east bank, starting at Galt Collegiate to the far north and going down to Old Post Office and Main Street Bridge to the south. Next slide, please. I had originally printed out a bunch of additional drawings to leave at your places tonight, but unfortunately that wasn't able to happen. I had drawings, I had site plans, and I also had some sketches that showed the internal staircase and how it would work. This proposal so far has received support from Trinity Anglican Church and its diocese office, and we had members of the church diocese on our team. We also have the support of the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario, Cambridge and North Dumfries chapter. 1977 was the start of riverbank development with the opening of Millrace Park. We would like to see the old Galt Observatory be considered as a 50-year anniversary project in 2027. Back in 2014, Council initiated an initiative called Back to the Rivers, and one of its prime stated objectives was to enhance the city's quality of life and to foster economic growth. Out of that initiative came the low-level walkway on the east side and the pedestrian bridge further down south of Main Street. The observatory is also in alignment with the city's economic and tourism development objectives. Council's stated objective is to promote vibrant, inviting downtown cores by creating a wide range of unique destinations and activities. So in summary, the old Galt Observatory can become a destination for both residents and visitors. It certainly qualifies as a placemaking project, and it would bring positive energy and financial benefits to the Galt core. We're hopeful that you would ask us to meet with your staff and bring back more information for their consideration. because we have gathered quite a bit more than what I can say in 5 minutes here tonight. We are able to share much more detail with staff, and we're prepared to assist in any way we can, and that may be beneficial to seeing this come to fruition. And I've been advised by Councillor Roberts that she indicated that she would keep us informed of Council's consideration of this matter. That ends my presentation.
Thank you, Tom. Does anybody have any questions? I see none. I really thank you for bringing this presentation forward. I'm sure you've been watching that we have been doing work along the riverbank, and there is more planned, and there is more planned in other parts of the city as well. And I can tell you that our budget is already for the next 3 years anyway is packed full. So I can't see that happening at least for the next 3 years. It's something I was working on yesterday as well with staff. So we've been taking stuff from 2026 and 2027 because we just don't have the funds to do them, and moving them out to further years. But as Councillor Roberts has stated to you, she can keep you informed and up to date as to what's going on. And you know, I'm sure staff will have, I can see certain staff here who are responsible for these things who are listening as well. Councillor Roberts, you will keep him informed as this moves along? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tom, for bringing this forward to us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Okay,
next I see is June Anderson. June, are you here? June? June, can you turn your video, your computer volume down? June?
Next I see is June Anderson. June, are you here?
Yes, I am.
June, can you make sure you've got the background turned down because we can hear the delayed meeting?
Your video, your computer volume down?
Oh, sure.
June?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can you make sure you've got the background turned down?
No, we've still got your background noise of the how are you talking to us by phone?
Actually, I have you on my iPad, but I'm talking to you right now on my phone, but I'll put my phone down if I can talk to you on the iPad.
We were getting my voice was feeding back. It was a delayed voice, but I'm not seeing that happen right now. So go ahead and we'll see if that is causing problems. You've got 5 minutes. Oh, did we lose her? We'll have to come back to June. So next up is Ruth Cameron. We'll bring Ruth in from the waiting room. Ruth, can you hit *6, please? Okay, Ruth, welcome. You have 5 minutes.
We'll have to come back to June.
Okay, thank
So
you.
next up is Ruth Cameron. We'll bring Ruth in from.
No, there's some bit. Ruth, can you please turn your computer volume down off?
Yes, I have. Can you hear me clearly?
Hang on a second. So follow along on your phone, not your computer.
Yes, my computer is muted.
Okay, all right, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening to members of council. My name is Ruth Cameron. I'm the Executive Director of Thrive HIV Prevention and Support. I'm here to speak on the motion to do a staff report regarding encampment evictions during extreme weather events. Some of my staff provide street outreach program support to individuals who are experiencing homelessness in Cambridge and surrounding areas. And in the absence of provincial rent control, significant new permanent affordable housing, without a livable minimum wage, and with over 2,300 individuals facing chronic homelessness and fewer than 400 shelter beds in the region. The homelessness outreach that is done by the Street Outreach Program is both absolutely necessary and a basic measure used to keep extremely vulnerable people alive and connected to housing, community, and healthcare related supports. Recently, the Office of the Federal Housing Advocate has concluded that for people living in these encampments, every day is a matter of life and death, and at the same time, encampments represent an effort by people who are unhoused to claim their human right to housing and meet their most basic needs for shelter. Many encampment residents have highlighted the sense of community they experience when they're living in an encampment with others who are facing similar struggles. In addition to this statement, the Federal Housing Advocate has reaffirmed that Canada recognizes housing as a human right in the National Housing Strategy Act, and as such, governments must stop forced evictions and the criminalization of people who are unhoused. People do have a right to live on public land when not provided safe, affordable, and dignified housing options that are appropriate to their needs. The frequent bylaw enforcement and encampment evictions against people experiencing homelessness and living in encampments in Cambridge opposes this direction. Encampment evictions in Canada
Ruth,
have directly
Ruth, I need to stop you for a minute here because as the housing advocate has also been informed, that is not happening in Cambridge. And so if you can just keep your comments to the actual motion, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
So encampment evictions in Canada have actually resulted in the deaths of people experiencing homelessness, and with climate change, we're experiencing a lot of extreme cold, heat, and humidity. In Canada in 2024, unfortunately, wildfires displaced 12,000 residents in their local communities, and 40 people lost their lives due to extreme weather. We've had a lot of situations over the summer where housed residents have been told to seek shelter when extreme weather is imminent. And for myself as an employer, labor laws set limits and protections for my outside workers. However, my staff have responded to evictions this summer where people have been displaced during extreme weather events, and equipment was brought to remove the belongings that they use to protect themselves in extreme weather. And I'd like to point out that these individuals are working. They're working very hard to stay alive. So at this time, there have been multiple situations where both my outreach team and regional outreach workers have responded to evictions during extreme weather events. And with regards to this, the individuals at times have received notification on the same day with regards to the eviction notice and removal from the site. Knowing that these can pose a danger to health and safety, I'm very pleased to hear that a study is being done that will hopefully result in a pause on evictions and make that pause mandatory during extreme weather events. Once individuals have been forced out of their outdoor homes, they have no other place to go to seek shelter from the weather. Taking away their belongings adds another layer of risk to the eviction experience. Removing equipment or clothing that could provide shade or protection from extreme heat or prevent frostbite. Summer's just ended, and outreach workers and community organizers are now preparing for supporting individuals experiencing homelessness in winter. And recent Toronto research shows that people who are experiencing homelessness are 18 more times likely to visit emergency departments for cold weather-related injuries compared to non-homeless patients. Please support the study that will hopefully support a pause for all evictions during extreme weather events. Bans on these evictions during extreme weather events are necessary for the health and safety of community members who do not have a home to return to.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I see none. Thank you. So can we get Ruth back on? I mean, June, sorry, June. Okay, so next up then, Rosalind Gunn, if you're in the waiting room. Okay, we have Rosalind ready to go here. Rosalind, if you could hit *6. Rosalind, could you hit *6? You're muted. One more time, and then we'll move on to the other and put Rosalind back in the waiting room. Rosalind, could you hit *6, please?
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Good
Hi.
evening. Good evening, Rosalind. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Ros Gunn, and I'm the Director of Communications and Advocacy at YWCA Cambridge, a multi-service agency that has served women, girls, and gender diverse individuals and their families in Cambridge and North Dumfries communities for over 75 years, including through operating Cambridge's first and only shelter for unhoused women. I'm here to express my strong support for the motion directing staff to report back on a policy to prevent the forced removal of unhoused persons from encampments during extreme weather events. This motion is a crucial and reasonable step towards a more humane, compassionate, and legally responsible approach to the homelessness crisis facing our community. As the motion rightly states, the housing and homelessness crisis is a systemic issue affecting all of Canada. Municipalities like Cambridge don't have the full financial and jurisdictional powers to solve this crisis on their own, but we do have a fundamental responsibility to act in a manner that upholds the human dignity and rights of every resident. This motion is a clear and actionable example of fulfilling that responsibility. And I want to address some common misconceptions that are swirling around in the discourse on homelessness and on homeless encampments. First, preventing encampment removals during extreme weather is enabling homelessness or making the problem worse. This couldn't be farther from the truth. What is enabling homelessness to grow is the affordability crisis and the severe lack of accessible and attainable housing options. According to the most recent point in time count, there are nearly 2,400 individuals experiencing homelessness across the region, and about 1,000 of them are unsheltered. Meanwhile, the region's shelter system has a capacity of just over 400 beds. Only 20 of those are dedicated to women in Cambridge. We are constantly, and that's our shelter, we are constantly at full capacity in our shelter and constantly turning women away. There is nowhere else for them to go in this city. This glaring gap makes it clear that we don't have enough shelter space to meet the current need, let alone to house everyone living in encampments. Additionally, most available shelter beds aren't designed to accommodate couples, families with older children, or those with pets. A shelter system at capacity means that even if individuals wanted to be housed, there often isn't a bed for them. And this brings me to my next point. And I want to state one thing clearly. The individuals we're talking about are our neighbors. They are not strangers being bussed in from neighboring communities and dropped at our doorstep. These are residents of our community who have fallen on hard times. We have a shared responsibility to treat them with dignity and with respect. And now the second misconception. Encampments are primarily driven by uncontrolled drug addiction and are a sign of lawlessness. While substance use is a complex factor, it's not the primary cause of homelessness.
Excuse me, please. Could you stick to the motion? This is about removing people during extreme weather events, not on what encampments are for. So I'm going to have to ask you to relate to the motion, please.
Sure. Okay, so the most significant drivers are economic factors and a lack of affordable housing. Many residents in encampments are there because they have nowhere else to go, and being with others is safer than being alone. Courts across the country, as well as the United Nations and our own federal government with the 2019 National Housing Strategy Act, have declared housing to be a human right. So this isn't a matter of charity, it's about basic rights. Under the Act, all Canadians have a right to a housing that is adequate, affordable, and secure. That is more than basic shelter. This legal and ethical consensus requires us as a municipality to respond to those without housing in a way that prioritizes and respects these fundamental human rights. Forced encampment removals, particularly during periods of extreme danger, are in direct conflict with this obligation and may be deemed unconstitutional. There is certainly a precedent for this with Justice Valenti's 2023 decision regarding the 100 Victoria encampment. For our unhoused neighbors, a weather warning is not a mere inconvenience. It is a direct threat to their survival. Forcibly removing individuals during an event may dispossess them of their few belongings they have to manage and mitigate the weather, such as blankets, tents, and warm clothing. It also pulls them from familiar spaces of refuge and, critically, severs their connections to established networks of support and outreach services that are vital to their health and safety. For outreach workers to actually do their jobs effectively, service providers need to be kept informed and be partners in any plan aimed at addressing the homelessness crisis. YWCA Cambridge has previously requested that should the city plan to evict an encampment, organizations like ours are informed in advance so that we can ensure individuals don't lose connection to vital services. We've not yet received any response to this request, but please consider this to be us reiterating this request here today. By passing this motion, Council will be taking a proactive and responsible step to mitigate these immediate and life-threatening risks. The direction to report back on a policy prevention during extreme weather is a prudent measure that allows us to develop a thoughtful, evidence-based solution in collaboration with the Region of Waterloo, the Waterloo Regional Police Services, and our key outreach and community partners. I urge Council to support this motion and signal to our most vulnerable residents that their human rights and safety matter to this Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind. Are there any questions from anybody there? I'm not seeing anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, before I go to the next delegate, I'm trying to give everybody leeway here, a bit of leeway, because I know everybody is passionate tonight and I know everybody's not going to stick to the wording of the motion here. I just don't want this to go sideways into a big debate about encampments, because that will take everything offside and it will take away from the motion itself. So I am going to give people leeway, but if I find they're going way too much overboard, then I'm going to try to bring them back to the motion itself. So everybody, I hope you can understand that. So we don't have June still. Okay, so next up is Matthew Hilson. Welcome, Matthew. Can you hit *6? You're on mute. So if you hit *6, that'll take you off of mute. Matthew, we can see you're here, but we can't hear you because you're muted. Could you hit *6? Ah, there you go.
Hello?
Yes, there you go. Welcome, Matthew. This is Mayor Liggett here. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Your Worship, Mayor Liggett, Ward Councillors, City staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Hilson, and I'm here representing Trillion Investment Corporation to address the motion before this council regarding the removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather. Our company owns well more than 1 million square feet of commercial property in Cambridge, where businesses employ more than 1,000 individuals, and we pay well over $1 million annually in property tax. We, like virtually all other commercial owners, have been adversely impacted through the ongoing violence, threats, theft, vandalism, and pollution by the encampment crisis in the city, which this motion directly relates to. I want to address this motion, its implications, where it leads, and why it has taken us in the wrong direction on the encampment issue. While this motion may seem politically correct and well-intentioned, I feel it unwittingly and subtly lays the legislative groundwork to make encampments a permanent and institutionalized part of the Cambridge community and lifestyle, and affect the new normal and somehow acceptable. Once in place, these motions do not typically get removed. Rather, they become embedded enablers that grow the scope, character, and legitimacy of what nobody wants. Encampments are fundamentally unsustainable because they're unhealthy, unsafe, and uneconomic for those in these circumstances and for those in the surrounding community. Any proposal that in any way supports maintaining encampments in good weather or bad weather is moving this community backwards and not forward, which is in everyone's best interests. Encampments are unhealthy because they're an epicenter for illegal drug use, unsanitary living conditions, poor nutrition, a multitude of health-related problems from living outdoors year-round in unsustainable accommodations, and rampant pollution throughout the community's public green areas. Encampments are unsafe due to violence, sexual exploitation within these enclaves that goes unreported and unaddressed, and the danger certain of these individuals pose to vulnerable members of the community due to their ongoing need to steal to support drug habits and basic needs, as well as the use of open fires in dry wooded areas. Encampments are uneconomic because they're a major source of vandalism and theft to both homeowners and businesses throughout the community that largely takes place with impunity and lack of consequences or prosecution of the perpetrators, resulting in an unending cycle of crime. This significantly escalates business costs, erodes property values, increases public stress, and eventually will make the city uninvestable and lead to job losses. Let me also address the human rights logic contained in the motion, which is deliberately and conveniently one-sided and frankly offensive. Specifically, it ignores the 99% of law-abiding citizens in this community whose human right to peacefully occupy their property and use public spaces free of violence, theft, drug use, and vandalism are being directly compromised for perpetuating encampments. When respecting, upholding, and prioritizing the human rights of one group can clearly be shown based on both evidence and basic common sense to compromise and marginalize that of others, this argument becomes wholly invalid and illustrates the incongruous use of the term human rights in this context. For those who argue this is compassion, it is selective compassion that victimizes the citizens of Cambridge. It is a warped sense of human dignity and community vision. They are not the ones that will lead the city forward in a positive direction. No one suffering from a mental illness, drug addiction, or homelessness has ever recovered by being left on the street to live in squalor, which is the direction of this motion. Demonstrable progress on this complex issue is not going to be made through band-aid piecemeal ideas like this one that fail to address the underlying causes, but instead lay the seeds to grow the problem into something even bigger. This is a crisis and needs a major rethink and massive changes to resolve it by forward-thinking, action-oriented individuals, not by naive ideology. I respectfully request Council vote against this motion and instead direct time, money, and energy towards constructive and sustainable solutions. Thank you for your time and for your consideration.
You came close there a couple of times, Matthew. Thank you for going back to the motion itself. Very much appreciated. But you did stray a couple of times. Are there any questions? Councillor Cooper. You're on mute.
Okay, close there.
That's the second time I've done that today.
Back to the motion itself.
Okay, you need to turn your other
my
apparatus.
apologies.
Yep, thank you. Go ahead,
Okay,
Adam.
start again. Okay. Thanks for that. Thank you for the delegation. Obviously, you're coming in from a I know you've got I think you maybe have a business perspective in this. I wonder if you can just go into detail about how this has affected you from that perspective. A lot of people can move away and have issues. I know that businesses can find that more difficult. Can you just give us elaborate a little more on how this has affected you?
For sure. So, we have found temporary encampments on our property down in ravines with stolen goods from our tenants. We've had theft and vandalism costs that have now exceeded $400,000. We've added security in the tune of $100,000 a year by live security patrols. We've had to repair fences, locks, and pay massive insurance deductibles. Because they've continuously cut through our fences, we have now had to get a custom-made sheet metal fence installed on our property, which is going to cost us over $210,000. We call, our security company calls us on a bi-daily basis saying there's people on our property on all hours of the morning from 1 to 3 a.m. trying to rip out fiber optic cables. We installed $10,000 worth of irrigation. They ripped it up to steal $5 worth of copper out of it. It's really negatively impacted our business. And, our tenants have lost business as a product of this, and it's a real concern.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much.
Councillor Schwery, and could you please have your question relate more to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. I'm not sure if this relates to the motion, but it relates to the fact that motions like these are causing difficulties for our businesses. And my question to Matthew is, what would you estimate the cost of the break-ins, damage, theft, and additional security your tenants have incurred? You mentioned something here, but in total.
In total, it's probably $750,000 to $1 million that we've incurred in the last 18 months.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just add, these instances have actually caused us to pull away from a project where we were going to invest $60 million into the city to build 300,000 square feet of brand new zero carbon or carbon neutral industrial buildings out here. And we've had to pull away from that as a product of this. These are safer places for us to invest money at this point.
Thank you, Matthew. We have heard that. So thank you very much for bringing another side to this that's not for residents or encampment residents either. Very much appreciated. I just ask council to try to keep your questions to the motion, just like I'm asking the speakers to stick to the motion. I know it's very difficult. Everybody has a story to tell. But I'm trying to give leeway because I know everybody has something to say and it's all very, very important. But I think we can get through this if we try to relate it back to the motion in some way. Okay, Councillor Schwery, could you mute yourself, please? So do we have June Anderson yet? She's here? Oh, great, June, you're back again. So if you could hit *6, unmute yourself. Can you hear us? June, can you hear us? June, can you hear us? Can you turn your volume up on your, I'm not sure if you're using an iPad or a phone, but please turn it up on one of them, whichever one you're using. Okay, we're not able to get June again. She's here, but for some reason, our correspondence back and forth is not working. So next up will be Peter Hyman on the ECDM plan that's on tonight's agenda. Peter, could you hit *6 so that you are unmuted? Peter, are you able to hit *6? We can't hear you. There we go. Okay, so you are here for the ECDM plan. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Peter Hyman.
I can't hear you.
I'm a Cambridge resident and taxpayer, and I wish to thank you for the opportunity to speak about the 2025 to 2029 Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan, or ECDM, and our continued involvement in the Partners for Climate Protection Program, known as PCP. This ECDM plan update, required under Ontario Regulation 25/23, tracks energy use in city facilities, buildings, fleet vehicles, streetlights. But it's important to be aware of what the province actually requires. Municipalities must publish a plan, yes, but the regulation does not mandate GHG targets, and it imposes no penalties for non-compliance. Municipalities retain full discretion to shape their plans according to local needs. This brings me to the PCP program. While it's often presented as a helpful framework, PCP is a voluntary, non-binding initiative managed by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and ICLEI Canada. There is no requirement to participate in PCP to meet Ontario's energy reporting laws. In fact, PCP has its own reporting obligations, entirely separate from the ECDM, and adds extra staff workload and costs without helping us meet provincial reporting requirements. That's just not my interpretation. Last year, the city of Thorold reviewed the same concerns and voted 7-1 to withdraw from PCP, citing unclear costs, intangible benefits, and a growing sense that local priorities were being sidelined by global policy agendas. Thorold's decision reflects a fair question. Are we allocating limited local resources to serve our residents or to fulfill global benchmarks that were never debated or consented to by the people of Cambridge? Two very recent peer-reviewed studies provide helpful context. On March 21st, 2025, a study appeared in the Science and Climate Change Journal. It reviewed decades of data and found no clear evidence that current climate trends are an emergency. Another study from September 20th, 2024, in the journal Science, looked at 485 million years of climate history. It found that we are actually at a temperature low compared to much of that period. Now let's talk about impact. As you can see from the graph, Canada contributes only about 1.5% of global GHG output, and Cambridge's share is a tiny fraction of that. So Cambridge represents only about 0.005% of the global total. Meanwhile, countries like China produce 26% of global emissions and continue expanding coal power. Given that scale, I think it's fair to ask, will our local sacrifices, tens of millions in projected costs, make any meaningful difference globally? Now let's look at the costs. The 2025 to 2029 ECDM plan is estimated to cost $10 to $15 million, and the projected cost to 2050 may reach $40 to $60 million. That's a major investment, and yet, when I filed a Freedom of Information request to access PCP-related expenditures, I was told it would take significant staff time and come with high search and prep fees, raising serious transparency concerns. At the same time, Cambridge is facing real, visible, and urgent challenges: road maintenance and traffic, flooding along the Grand River, housing affordability, economic development and downtown revitalization. These are the areas where our funding, staff time, and policy focus should be going, not towards satisfying external benchmarks that come with unclear costs and questionable benefits. In conclusion, this is not a call to ignore environmental responsibility, but it is a call for measured, transparent, and locally accountable policymaking. I respectfully ask the Council, 1, reconsider Cambridge's continued involvement in the PCP program. 2, align the ECDM plan with provincial minimum requirements. 3, request a full cost accounting of all PCP and ECDM-related spending. And 4, consider following Thorold's example, taking a principled stand for local control, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. Thank you for your time and service to our city.
Thank you, Peter. For those who are trying to follow the bouncing ball here this evening, this is an item under consideration of reports on page 444, and that's what he was speaking to. Counselor Schwer, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Leggett, and thank you, Peter. You brought some really good points. I have a question because you obviously didn't have time. There was a letter by that you.
Not hearing it now.
Hello.
I'm not hearing you.
I'm unmuted.
I'm not hearing you.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
He's muted himself. Peter, could you please hit *6 to unmute yourself? A counselor is asking you a question. He's showing attending the meeting, but he's still muted. Peter, could you please hit *6 again to unmute yourself? There you go. Counselor Schwery is
Can anybody hear
asking.
me?
Yes, we can hear you. Counselor Schwery is asking you a question.
Hi, Peter. Can you hear me now? Hello?
He's muted himself again. Are you okay if we move on now, Counselor Schwery? I think we're going to have trouble here.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll move on to our next delegate, which is Leslie Peary. Leslie, are you there? We are. Can you hit *6? And if you are a delegate waiting to speak, for those in the waiting room, we ask that you please turn your YouTube down and speak only through your phone. And please ensure that you press *6 when you are brought into the meeting, or else you are muted and we can't hear you. So could you please hit *6, Leslie? You're still muted, Leslie. Could you please hit *6? There you go. Yeah, just make sure that you turn your YouTube down.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you've turned your YouTube down?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
Has the feedback gone?
There's no, yeah, the feedback is gone. So go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Perfect. Good evening. My name is Leslie Peary, and I'm here to speak to the motion to prevent the forced removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events. I am a retired social worker and a longtime resident of Cambridge. My family continues to live here, and I have been proud to call this city my home. When I was working, I had a number of colleagues comment on how we in Cambridge have very vibrant neighborhood associations that demonstrate compassion and caring for our communities. We also are a city of beautiful natural spaces and trails and growing downtown communities. These are all things worth celebrating. But lately, I have found myself feeling ashamed and alarmed by how our city is treating some of our most vulnerable residents, our unhoused neighbors. The true measure of any community lies in how it treats its most vulnerable. And right now, we are falling short, morally, ethically, and humanely. I have been horrified by recent actions of City Council, from the refusal to allow the Sanguine Health van to park across from the bridges, to the forced evictions of encampments during dangerous summer heat waves.
Leslie, I'm going to ask you to stick to the motion, please. You're really going offside with it. I'm going to give some leeway, but I need you to stick to the motion. Thank you.
Certainly. These actions are not examples of good governance. They're examples that are being noticed beyond our city's borders. Cambridge has been cited by the Federal Housing Advocate, not for its innovation or compassion in addressing this issue. Tonight, City Council has an opportunity to change that narrative. The motion before you to prevent the removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events is a small but meaningful step toward a more compassionate and humane approach. This is not a radical ask. It is basic. It is an act of basic decency. I urge all council members to support this motion. In the absence of concrete steps taken by council to find permanent safe housing for our unhoused neighbors, not evicting them during extreme weather events is the least we should be doing. It's time to show who we are or who we want to be as a community. I again urge all council members to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Does anybody have any questions? I see none. Thank you. Our next person, is June back? Okay. And I'm gonna repeat, please, people. The housing advocate was given false information, has been given correct information since that letter went out. We are not removing people during extreme weather times or other. I'm going to ask people to please stick to the motion. I will give leeway as I have been going all along here. I need you to stay respectful to members of council. They have opinions which may differ from yours, and they may we differ from each other, but we're here to listen to everybody, and hopefully everybody is respectful for each other, including delegates. So June, if you could please hit *6. Make sure your YouTube is off. There we go. Let's try this again. Okay, welcome, June. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, and I am very sorry that this has been very confusing, but my daughter has finally helped me out. So, Madam Mayor and members of council, my name is June Anderson, and I am a member of Citizens for Cambridge. Tonight, I wish to address the crisis facing our unsheltered population and the upcoming motion to study the removal of encampments during extreme weather conditions. Council, like others before it, has undertaken many studies to bring clarity to important issues, whether it is on traffic, the dam reconstruction, or members of citizen welfare. It is my understanding that the motion before you concerns removing encampments during periods of extreme heat or cold. First of all, we do not believe that anyone who reaches the end of the age of majority would say, "Now I will live in an encampment." Encampments are not a lifestyle choice, but a form of survival. Living rough is a very hard life. In the summer, people risk dying from heat exhaustion. In the winter, from hypothermia. Over the years, I have known citizens in Cambridge who have died from the cold. Each time I ask myself, what could we have done as caretakers of our community to prevent such tragedies? One example that still stays with me is the gentleman who froze to death under a bridge after attending a Christmas meal at the mill. The mill gave it as a gift of kindness, a Christmas dinner, and it ended up in such a tragedy. A study will help us identify the extent of the problem, the impact on other services, and the serious health risks faced by those living outdoors during the weather emergency. In my volunteer role at Trinity Community Table, I'm known as a listener. Many of the guests I speak with are living in encampments, and their stories are filled with hardship. They tell me that times of extreme heat or cold are their worst nightmares. I also know that not all of these individuals suffer from addictions. We know that such a motion is not done in isolation and that this needs to be coordinated with police services, fire and bylaw, and of course, city officials. However, Citizens for Cambridge urges council to treat this as a humanitarian issue with openness, compassion, and knowledge, insight only from achieving through a proper study. Thank you, and I'd be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, June. Are there any questions? I see none. Thank you, June.
Thank you.
Next up is Dr. Laura Pinn. Laura, could you please unmute by hitting *6? Laura, could you please hit *6 to unmute? Laura, you're not coming through. So while you hopefully can figure that out, or somebody can work with you through that, we will go on to the next person, and that will be Aaron Dej. Aaron, could you please hit *6 to unmute? There you go. We've got you now. And please have your YouTube off. You'll have 5 minutes, Aaron.
Great, thank you. My name is Erin Day. I'm a resident of Ward 6 and a taxpayer, if that's relevant. It's important to keep in mind what this motion is about: directing a staff report to look into preventing encampment removal during extreme weather events. As Mayor Liggett continues to remind us this evening, the motion is not about Cambridge's encampment strategy or the homelessness response broadly. It speaks to very specific times when removing an encampment is even riskier than usual. And it is a motion about creating a staff report, which will give you, the councillors, the information you need to make an informed decision about the issue. I also want to draw attention to my colleague, Dr. Laura Pinn's letter that you will have already received, where she points to this motion coming for a staff report, coming from real events that happened in Cambridge during a heat wave this past summer, when we were very concerned for people's lives. What I find so disheartening is that I actually think most of us are on the same page about this motion. No advocate I know wants encampments. We all agree that they are not an acceptable form of housing, no matter what the weather. We also agree, for the most part, on solutions. We want permanent housing, access to treatment, and for the whole community to feel safe. There is so much common ground that we can work from. But as we see with this motion and what's happened here, the issue of homelessness has become so politicized here in Cambridge and across the country that people are pitted against each other instead of working alongside one another to figure out fair, effective, and safe ways to move forward. Over the last few years, I've had the opportunity to speak to lots of residents and business owners in Cambridge about homelessness. Overall, people are kind and understanding, recognizing that homelessness is a complicated issue, but also trying to take care of themselves and their businesses. I have every reason to believe if an encampment was going to be removed, most people in Cambridge would agree to wait a few days so that it doesn't happen on those 4 days in July when it's +40 with the humidex and there's an air quality advisory, or when it's -25 with the wind chill and a blizzard is blowing in. This motion is not about the possibility of removing encampments ever. Even the National Protocol for Homeless Encampments in Canada recognizes that there are instances where an encampment needs to be closed. This motion is about how we go about doing that to best support people to be successful with their housing, and in a way that actually ends people's homelessness, rather than moving it to the next street over. I understand that the idea of having people be outside during extreme weather events seems counterintuitive. But as I outlined in the letter that I submitted, it really isn't, for 3 reasons. 1, we want people to be able to come indoors during extreme weather events. But as Roz noted, there is literally not enough room. Over 1,000 people across the region are living outside. At its peak, the entire region has 674 emergency beds. There isn't enough space for everyone to come inside, especially in Cambridge. Number 2, when removals happen, people lose many of their belongings, including things that can keep them alive during extreme weather events, like water and blankets. I want to be clear, experiencing homelessness is already a drain on hospitals, fire services, and law enforcement. Displacing an encampment during an extreme weather event will be an even bigger drain on those resources. And 3, removals mean that outreach and healthcare workers can't find people they are supporting. This means if a housing unit or a treatment bed becomes available, they can't find the person when an opportunity comes up. This issue has been presented as an either-or. Either pass this motion about a staff report or take action on long-term solutions to homelessness. This is a false dichotomy. Council can gather more information about this issue through a staff report and pursue solutions that lead to safe, permanent housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. I always thought it was Dej, and now I know it's Day.
Yeah,
My apologies there. Are there any questions? I see none. Thank you very much. Next up is Megan Walker. No, sorry, is Laura Pinn back? Okay. Laura, can you hit *6 and also turn off your YouTube if you have it going? Laura, if you can hear me, could you hit *6? There you go. Now we're able to hear you. And can you please make sure that your YouTube is off? You'll have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I able to start now?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. My name's Laura Pinn, and I'm an associate professor at Wilfrid Laurier University. I currently lead a research project on encampments where my research team has reviewed documents in 42 municipalities in Ontario. In Cambridge specifically, in addition to this review, we've surveyed 21 individuals who have lived in an encampment out of a total survey sample of close to 100 individuals. In addition, I have visited encampment sites in Cambridge multiple times and spoken with residents, service providers, bylaw, and police. And I mention all this just to make the point that I do have firsthand knowledge of encampments in Cambridge. I'm speaking today to urge City Council to approve the motion preventing the forced removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events. Very much agreeing with my colleague Erin Day, this motion is not pro or anti-encampment. It is an opportunity for an evidence-based understanding of the issues to support future policy action, something I think is particularly important in light of the Federal Housing Advocate's letter to the city in July. This is a motion for a staff report to better understand the issue, not the adoption of a specific policy change. I have heard individuals suggest we don't need a motion for a staff report because the most humane option is simply to forcibly remove individuals. However, this assumes that individuals are being removed from an encampment to an indoor space, which is virtually never the case. Our research found that all individuals living in encampments had barriers to emergency shelter access, including a lack of sufficient spaces, the loss of belongings, loss of pets, and sometimes being banned or service restricted from shelters. Another issue is that there are not enough shelter spaces available. There are at least 3 times as many people living unsheltered in the region of Waterloo as there are shelter spaces. So as a result, when people experiencing homelessness are displaced from encampments during extreme weather events, they do not access indoor space, but rather lose belongings, connections to service providers, which can be vital for actually transitioning someone from homelessness to housing and become more at risk of harm or even death from the elements. This is why it is important to have a motion and a staff report to understand the best pathway forward. I have heard individuals suggest that a staff report concerning displacement during extreme weather events would be redundant because the City of Cambridge already has an informal policy of not removing people from encampments during extreme weather. If this is the case, a staff report will help identify gaps in this policy, as my written correspondence to this council includes copies of 2 trespass notices that were issued to people living in encampments during heat waves. One notice was issued on June 20th to be carried out on June 23rd, a day when the humidex resulted in a daytime high of 46 degrees, and records for heat were set across Southern Ontario. I have also heard individuals suggest that we do not need a staff report because all people in encampments should be jailed or committed to psychiatric facilities. Frankly, this is inaccurate and it's not realistic or helpful in this situation. This approach would not address the lack of emergency shelter spaces or permanent housing options. Second, there are insufficient addiction treatment spaces in the public system to accommodate all the people that want treatment, let alone those that do not. Third, involuntary commitment to a psychiatric facility is a significant deprivation of liberty, and the blanket application of this approach is not realistic in this context because it is not consistent with the fundamental principles of justice under the Charter. This is probably the most like a professor I've ever spoken at a delegation, and I have done many. But really, you know, the right to liberty and the right to be free from involuntary detention are not just principles that can be set aside because people are inconvenient. A staff report will be incredibly helpful, in my view, in terms of understanding which approaches to encampments during extreme weather are within the rule of law, as well as identifying gaps in responses and helping to support the entire community, not just people in encampments, in understanding the nuances of the issue and possible pathways forward. It is an opportunity for the City of Cambridge to show leadership on this issue, and so I urge you to support the motion.
Thank you, Laura. Are there any questions? Councillor Cooper.
Did it again. Thank you for the presentation. I just need to go back to something. If you could just go back to something you said about a minute ago about saying that, you know, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to tell me. You said something about everybody should go to jail or something like that. If you could just go back to what you stated there?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing Councillor Cooper. Could you please repeat that?
So you stated something about saying that, you know, there was some kind of narrative about, you know, everybody in an encampment should get sent to jail or something. Did you say something like that in there? I can't remember the exact wording.
So I'm responding to the public comments that have been made concerning, you know, people have said publicly, members of this council, that they think people who are living in encampments should be sent to jail or sent to psychiatric facilities. So I'm responding to those comments.
Okay, that's my question. Do you believe somebody from this council said that people should be sent to jail?
I believe that somebody from this council was quoted in the media saying that. You know, I don't think it's productive to get into I think, you know, you are in the room with your councillors, so you can ask them for clarification on their remarks. If I am mistaken, I would be delighted to be mistaken because I think there's nothing to be gained by posturing and empty statements that don't necessarily lead to productive solutions on this issue.
Okay, well, I can assure you that nobody here has stated that anybody homeless or on drugs for that reason should go to jail. I can assure you that has not.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I'm delighted to hear that.
Thank you.
Councillor Schwery.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. Thank you, Laura. Sorry, Lynn. Laura Penn. I read through the report that you sent, the letter, and I just have a question, actually two, because one is, what evidence do you have that we evict people in the heat or cold? And then number two, that when we evict, we don't offer shelter, when in your attachment, it says there that when offered shelter, they refused shelter. But these people here on one of your attachments were given multiple warnings, but they did not want access to shelter.
Yeah, I really appreciate this question. So the one is, what evidence is there around evictions? And I would say there were 2 eviction notices issued. One was issued on June 20th, and people staying in encampments were told it would be carried out on Monday, June 23rd. The second was issued on July 16th, and people were told it would be carried out immediately. And the notices say that people are required to leave the premises. They are required to leave, they are required to remove their belongings, they cannot stay. And the notices, which are included in my written submissions, are very clear about this. In terms of the specific individuals that received those notices, I am not aware of them actually being removed. However, I am aware of individuals coming and asking them to leave and attempting to remove them. And I am not clear on why the notices were not carried out. If a purpose was to clean up the encampment or provide support, you wouldn't need to issue an eviction notice to do so. And for one of the individuals, at least, receiving these two notices has led them to isolate and reduce contact with housing service workers, has led to an increase in distrust of these workers and suspicion of outsiders, which fundamentally makes it more difficult for people to connect with the services they need and move into permanent housing. So that's piece one in terms of what evidence do I have. Would you mind repeating the second part of your question?
Yes. You mentioned when you were talking, I believe, that we do not offer those that are evicted shelter space.
Oh, right, the offering of shelter space. Thank you. Sorry.
Attachment, it says they were offered and they refused.
Yeah, and so I've talked about the issue of accessibility in terms of shelter spaces, and I talked about this in my letter. So an individual can be offered a shelter space, but whether or not it's actually possible for them to go to that space depends on a number of factors. It depends on their willingness to leave their belongings, their willingness to be separated from pets, and a number of the encampment residents did in fact have pets. It might seem trivial, but when you're experiencing homelessness and you have very few supports, the idea of having to leave your pet can be enough to keep someone out. It can be a result of individuals living as couples and not being able to enter the shelter system as couples, which can be very important for safety. There are complicated reasons why an offer of shelter is not necessarily sufficient for a person to be able to actually access that shelter. And unfortunately, in the notices, you don't get the nuance and all that context. What I can say is that all of the individuals that I have spoken with respect to those notices have been working with housing workers trying to get permanent housing, but for them, shelters are often inaccessible. And part of it also is that when you enter a shelter, you have to leave all of your belongings, and there is no guarantee in terms of how long you'll be able to stay in that shelter space. And people's experience is that they often end up back on the street in a few days, but this time without essential items for their survival. And so part of the concern is that, we really do need to be linking people to permanent housing that's accessible and adequate for them, and not emergency shelters. People staying in emergency shelters are still experiencing homelessness.
Okay, this is going sideways. None of this is speaking to the motion. So Councillor Schwery, please, if we can have the questions more related. I understand you were asking questions based on the commentary, and I have been letting people go further than the motion in the discussion tonight. But if we can just keep it to any more questions to the motion? Seeing none. Thank you, Laura.
Goodbye.
Next up is, and by the way, you'll be able to ask questions of staff after to clarify some of these statements that have been made. And then I'm going to also make a clarification for documents that I have and data that I have as well. Megan Walker is next. Megan, we see you on the screen, but we need you to hit *6 if you can, and to turn your YouTube off. There we go. You'll be able to speak now.
Thank you so much.
Now you'll
Can you
have
hear
five.
me?
Yes, we can. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good evening to the mayor and council. I'm Meg Walker, and I'm the Climate Equity Coordinator and Tenant Organizer for the Social Development Center, an organization that facilitates the plan to end chronic homelessness, among other things. I'm here to express my very strong support to Councillor Hamilton's motion for staff to report back on a motion to prevent the forced removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events. So in 2019, Cambridge Council voted to declare a climate emergency, recognizing the stakes and dire circumstances of the climate crisis. In 2021, Cambridge Council also voted to support the 50% reduction of emissions by 2030, along with the rest of the region and its municipalities. You also adopted the Transform Waterloo Region report as part of your official plan, and you have a climate adaptation plan specifically for Cambridge. All of this indicates to me that you recognize the very present and accelerating impacts of climate change to all of us. This is where I'd like to remind you that our unsheltered neighbors are the first people to feel the brunt of these extreme weather events, and they have very few resources to protect themselves. Unsheltered people feel the impacts of climate change more acutely and regularly. This is also where I remind you that by the region's own accounting, that the crisis of our neighbors becoming unsheltered has doubled to 20% from 14% as it was in 2018. As a tenant organizer, I can tell you that people are being evicted en masse throughout the region. People who heretofore thought they were safe from evictions, including in Cambridge, and these people have nowhere else to go because we are in a housing crisis. I regularly have elderly people who have been well off, have been fine, are pensions, but are on a limited income, come to me and ask me whether or not they're going to end up in an encampment. I work to prevent evictions, and the people I am able to support represent only a fraction of the people who are being displaced in the region. There are many more people than
Megan, can you pause for a second? Can you please pull your comments to the motion? We understand there's a housing problem in that, but I understand.
Okay. Thank you so much. But you can stay with me for one more sentence. It can't happen because there's not enough affordable housing, shelter space, or accessible resources, as you just said. But I also want to remind you that evictions are traumatizing and harmful, including from encampment. Encampments are the only recourse for people who've been abandoned by institutions who are meant to protect them. To displace already marginalized and harmed people during an extreme weather event is to double the harm caused to them and to the violence of climate change itself. Displacing and evicting people from their only shelter against climate extremes is an act of violence. I keep using that word because it is violence against people who have already had so much inflicted on them. So I ask you, please pass this motion for a staff report on prohibiting displacement of our unsheltered neighbors during extreme weather events. Having explicit policy protecting unsheltered people, not just implied policy, from displacement during extreme weather events is the least you can do for these people who are our neighbors, our friends, our children, and part of our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meg. Do we have any questions? I see none. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lynn Antini, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I see you are on the screen. Could you please hit *6 and turn your YouTube off? And please correct me, is it Antini or is it Antini? You'll have to hit *6. You're muted. There you go, Lynn, we've got you now. Okay, and you've got your YouTube off?
Yes, I do.
Okay, it's Mayor Liggett here. Do you pronounce your last name Antini or Antini?
Depends on which of my parents you ask.
Pardon me?
It depends on which of my parents you ask, so it really doesn't matter.
They're not in front of me, so I just want to make sure.
No, that's fine.
Either one is fine. Okay.
I come to you. Lynn Antini is fine. I'm coming to you tonight.
Okay, you
online, unfortunately.
You have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm coming to you to speak to, on behalf of Waterloo Region, Yes in My Backyard, a group that shares the value that housing is a human right and we must ensure everyone has access to housing, whatever that entails. We recognize that this cannot fall exclusively on municipalities. When unhoused individuals are displaced before social workers they are building relationships with are able to offer suitable housing, we all start from scratch. The displaced individuals are further traumatized. Their health likely declines even further. The trauma can lead to further mental health crises. which mean that people's needs become more complex and more expensive to provide services to. I also assist people in refusing bad faith eviction attempts from their rental units, and that alone is extremely traumatizing. The City of Cambridge regularly decides against increased density in neighborhoods and has previously voted against affordable housing options due to them being unsuitable for the particular location which they're proposed. So clearly the City of Cambridge understands that sometimes housing is unsuitable, which might be the reason that people are not accepting housing which does not allow them to bring their dog, does not allow them to stay with their partner, is managed by a company where is in a building or a shelter where they have been assaulted or harmed. Waterloo Ridge and YIMBY often finds themselves asking, where are people supposed to go if we can't build affordable housing here? If allowing people here is bad, why is it better to force some people somewhere else? Since we're being told that no evictions have occurred in Cambridge, it would be simple to agree to having staff create a report on this. It should take almost no time or effort whatsoever. Although perhaps the motion could be amended to prevent threats of evictions as well. And then we'll have the City of Cambridge's official staff opinion on the record. That transparency would be welcomed. And perhaps that report will also explain where it is that people are going to move to. What are the suitable options, or how people will be prevented from becoming homeless, because that seems the most logical way to ensure people will never need to survive outdoors and will never cause the problems that require them to need displaced. I thank you for allowing me to go off topic and for the privilege of joining online where I can see none of your faces. I can't see how you're reacting, and you're all allowed to hide behind a screen. This has been a very fun experience, but your security is important. Thank you for your patience.
Does anybody have any questions for Lynn? I see none. Thank you, Lynn. Next up is Suhanya, and I'm going to get this wrong. I know I am. Kathisa Warren. Suhanya, could you please hit *6 to unmute yourself? Suhanya, hit *6, please. We can't hear you. You're muted. We're still unable to hear you. Could you hit *6? We're going to take a 2-minute break and staff are going to call her. Be back here in 2 minutes. Oh, wait. Oh, there she is. Suhanya, could you pronounce your last name, please? I'm sorry. I'm sure I butchered it on you.
Sure. It's Kathy Swearin.
Kathy Swearin?
That's it.
Oh, good. Thank you for that. It's Mayor Liggett here. Welcome, and you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for creating the opportunity, not just for me, but for so many to delegate tonight. I've learned so much from the variety of perspectives shared tonight, even those I don't necessarily agree with, and I appreciate the time and care taken to present them and the opportunity you've given for all of us to share so freely. I'm here to delegate tonight as someone raising a young family here in the City of Cambridge. As a mother, ensuring that my child has the opportunity to grow up in a safe community is more important to me than anything else. And as such, I am deeply concerned about the homeless encampments in our community, and I'd like to share why. I'm concerned that the homeless encampments we see in Cambridge are mirrored in communities across this country, meaning we're failing people not just here in Cambridge, but across Canada. I'm concerned that a report released last month by the United Way and the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada shows that 12% of all households in this province are living with something called core housing need. That means that for every 10 families, at least one of them is living in a home that is inadequate for their needs, but they remain in that home anyway because they can't afford a better alternative. I'm concerned that some researchers are estimating that for every unit of affordable housing we build, we're losing upwards of 10 or more. And I'm concerned that the current wait time for an affordable unit in our community is approximately 8 years. Taken together, these trends paint an extremely concerning picture. They suggest that however opposed we all may be to encampments, they are unlikely to disappear as more and more people are pushed to the brink of homelessness, and the solutions that are being implemented at all levels of government are failing to match the scale of the problem. I find that devastating. I struggle to explain to my child why so many people are without a home in a community as beautiful and abundant as ours. And I'm saddened that municipalities like ours aren't provided with adequate resources from higher levels of government to meet the crisis that we see around us. I'm therefore here to support the motion brought forward by Councillors Hamilton and Earnshaw, requesting a staff study into preventing the forced removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events. I don't believe that encampments are a suitable, safe, or dignified home for anyone. But I do believe that they have become the only option currently available to a growing number of people. And this motion is a step toward ensuring that we are doing what we can as a community to not make an already unsafe situation even less safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I see none. Thank you. We're just going to take a 5-minute break if everybody just wants to turn their cameras off and their mics off while we do that. Thank you. If anybody could please return to their dating square here, that'd be great. Counselor Kimson, I'm not sure if you're here. I see you have a picture, but I don't know if you're actually. Oh, there you are. Okay. Who else are we missing? Counselor Hamilton, Counselor Devine. There's Counselor Hamilton, Counselor Devine. Well, we'll have to move ahead without Counselor Devine right now, I guess. Oh, there we are. Thank you. So we're going to proceed to our first item for consideration. It's the consent agenda. So please note that if a member of council wishes to comment on any of the consent items, please let us know by using your raise hand feature. In the interest of time, we will look to vote on the consent agenda items in a block, but if you wish to comment, you are welcome. Item number 8, municipal significant events, third quarter updated noise exemption approval has been pulled from the consent agenda and will be the first item discussed under consideration of reports rather than consent agenda. Councillor Kimson, you are the mover.
Yes, I am, Mayor Jan. I'd just like to note Councillor Schwery does have her hand up right now. I'm not sure if that's in relation
I'm sorry.
to this.
No, thank you. I missed that. Councillor Schwery, I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. I just wanted to ask some questions on 2 items in the consent agenda. One, the Chief Tower report in the community grants program.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes, right here.
Yeah, so how about if we read the motion first and then we'll go to those 2 items, okay? Councillor Kimson?
Yes, Councillor Devine has his hand up now. Do you want me to read everything and then we'll go to?
Yeah, read everything and then we'll go to each item.
Okay, excellent.
We'll vote on those items separately.
Okay. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robert, recommendation that all items listed under the heading of consent agenda for September 23rd, 2025 be adopted as recommended. Item 8.1, council meeting minutes, September 2nd, 2025. Item 8.2, council workshop minutes, September 11th, 2025. Item 8.3, council information package, September 5th, 2025. Item 8.4, 25-004-PG, passing of designation bylaws for listed heritage properties. Item 8.5, 25-084-CD, resident recreation program registration window. Item 8.6, 25-014-IFS, Queen Street 15-minute limited parking regulation. Item 8.7, 25-036-OCM, 90 Old Mill Road, Architectural Conservancy, Ontario, potential property donation to the city. Item 8.8, 25-006-CS, Community Grants Program Interim Policy Review. Item 8.9, 25-017-PG, recommendation to enact Part 4 designations for multiple listed properties. Item 8.11, 25-001-CFS, Whitmer Sanitary Pumping Station Upgrade Engineering Design Services. I so move.
Sorry, Councillor Schwery, you just wanted to comment on a couple of items or, okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. It's more questions for, so the residents and the people in listening in can know. Regarding the Chief Tower, which I'm guesstimating to be about $700,000, I have 3 questions. Why was this tower not maintained? How will the public have good access without additional parking? And how will it be protected from vandalism? Which I've sent these questions already to staff.
Okay. let me see, who was going to answer that? I forget. Oh, Mr. Lacy, your mic is open. You go right ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members of council, fellow staff, members of the audience tonight. My name is Neil Lacy. I'm the manager of Realty Services. And thank you, Councillor Schwery, for the question. Through you, Chair. The tower was acquired by the Architectural Conservancy in 1994. And they underwent major renovations in 1999-2000. I have a list here of some of the items that were addressed, which I'll just run through really quickly. They coated the structural members with creosote to protect rot and infestation. They put new boarding and batten cladding on the exterior. They did concrete work to the foundation of the tower. They replaced the roof shingles, and they installed a footbridge. So all this was undertaken in 2000. This is a donation. There is no purchase price associated with this. I just want to provide some clarity to the number of 700,000, Councillor Schwery. I'm not sure exactly where that number is being derived from. The council report does speak to asset replacement plan within 5 years. So we do mention in there about footing replacement to the pedestrian bridge. We do mention the retaining wall, and this would be at an estimate of about 430,000. None of this work would be undertaken within the next 5 years. Immediately upon obtaining possession, the council report does mention about $135,000 being needed for public safety features. And the report identifies what those public safety features will be. It's namely dealing with the railing. There's a wrought iron railing, which is a safety concern at 67,000. Putting additional signage around the property. These are all site related improvements, not to the tower itself. Tree removal, because there's a few precarious trees that look like they might fall, and if we're going to open this to the public, it's definitely a concern. And then there's road improvements to the shoulder of the road at the site. So we're estimating that to be at around 135,000, which also includes a contingency. I hope that answers the question number one. For question number two, which was around the parking, I will defer to my colleague, Mr. Hauser.
Thank you, Mr. Lacy, and through the mayor. In terms of the parking aspects, we've worked with the conservatory, the stewards that are currently the stewards of that, and recognizing this is a heritage within a heritage district, there are some constraints in terms of what level of work can be done on the site, respecting those heritage characters. And at this time, we feel that we would be able to extend the shoulder of that road immediately adjacent to the property, that we provide a safe area for visitors to park a small number of vehicles, certainly sufficient for a bus. So if there was a bus that was bringing children for a tour or others to safely pull off to the side of the road out of the way of traffic, that space would also provide a safe place for our staff to pull up with maintenance equipment, usually a pickup truck and a trailer, to undertake some routine maintenance of the site. So that's the extent of the parking that would be provided there. Recognizing there's also traffic safety concerns along that entire road and its heritage character. So there's also some work being done looking at some traffic calming in the area as well. So they would be all tied together.
Mr. Hauser, to do with that was already in place. The traffic calming, when you put it in there, it's what we've already budgeted for. Yes. Okay.
Thank you for that correction. My apology. Yes, the intent is to work together so they don't conflict, that they be complementary, and they.
Right. So it's not extra money. It was already in the budget. Okay. Councillor Devine.
Yes. Can you hear me okay? All right. The Queen Street parking, 15-minute parking, limited parking regulation. I would propose we try that for 12 months. Now, the parking in downtown Hasbro is limited as is. All right, so I think we need to be very careful what we're doing here. So I propose we run that for a 12-month trial balloon and see how it works out. And if I can get a seconder for that, I'd appreciate it.
Hang on 1 second. Mr. Hauser, is this to be a permanent 15-minute parking, or is this for a short-term one, pilot?
Thanks for the question, Madam Mayor. The report and bylaw amendment as written is stated as permanent. So if there's a choice to make it as a trial for a period of time, that would be acceptable if acceptable here at council.
Okay, can Councillor Devine get a seconder here? Okay, Councillor Mehta. Okay, and so it's just to change that to a pilot project for how long did you want, Councillor Devine?
I would say 12 months would be adequate.
Okay, can we take the vote on that, please, Madam Clerk?
Okay, so Councillor Schwery. Oh, I see her hand. Councillor Devine.
Aye.
Councillor Kimson.
In favor.
Councillor Earnshaw.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts.
In favor.
Councillor Cooper.
In favor.
Councillor Hamilton.
Sure.
Councillor Ermetta.
In favor.
And Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
And that carries unanimously.
I think I was a little bit out of order because we already had a motion on the floor for the consent agenda. So we'll go back to the consent agenda with
Thank
the
you.
removal of that particular one. Yes, Councillor Schwery, did you have another one? Go ahead.
The other one is the community grants program. I just have a couple questions. On page 164, it talks about flow through spending. I'm not sure what that means exactly. And could I get an example? And the other question is, what is the total amount earmarked for grant funding?
Okay, Ms. Aiken, do you want to answer that? Or who else is here? Ms. Head, whoever.
Yes, I can answer through you, Madam Mayor. Flow through funding. So groups request funding through community grant process by applying under 4 categories: startup, training and development, special project funds, and capital funds. A group who donates money to another organization would not qualify for this grant. That's a flow-through organization. So an example, Councillor Shuri.
Yeah, I was.
No. An example, Councillor Shuri, is an applicant asks the city for financial support for a minor capital repair, but in their financial statements, they show that they donate money to charities. So that's an example. Is that helpful?
Yes, it is. So it's like a third part. You don't give to like third party charities.
That's right. And the second question was the total amount earmarked. So the approved 2025 capital grant fund was $389,800. That's what's reflected in the proposed 2026 operating budget if it's approved.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for a vote on the main motion.
Can I just?
Sure.
Just council, I apologize. I should have jumped in at the Queen Street item. So when you vote on the consent item, you'll be voting on all of the items as listed, and then the Queen Street item as amended with the trial period, just for clarification. Okay. So on the consent, Councillor Schwery.
In favor?
Councillor Devine.
Aye.
Councillor Kimson.
In favor.
Councillor Earnshaw.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts.
In favor.
Councillor Cooper.
In favor.
Councillor Hamilton.
In favor.
Councillor Ermetta.
In favor.
Councillor Liggett. Or sorry, Mayor Liggett.
I feel like I'm at regional council again. In favor.
And that carries unanimously.
So before we go to consideration of reports, I'm going to have Mr. Bromberg explain what went wrong with the Grand Avenue project.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The report for the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment at Grand Ave South has been pulled from the agenda because it's been appealed by the developer to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a non-decision. And I want to acknowledge that it's we as staff that made an error, which allowed the appeal for the non-decision. Now, while we were anticipating an appeal regardless, I do want to let both council and the public know that with council support, we will defend our position at the tribunal because as staff, we feel that this application is too dense and inappropriate for the location. And our report to council will be used as evidence in this appeal. So in essence, our evidence to the tribunal will not change. So thank you, Mayor, for allowing me the time to outline and explain.
Thank you, Mr. Bromberg. And I asked him to speak because normally council gets blamed for these things when things go to the OLT. This has nothing to do with council. We did our job and this was a staff error. And thank you, Mr. Bromberg, for acknowledging that before the media gets a hold of it and starts blaming us for this. Are there any questions of Mr. Bromberg? Oh, Councillor Kimson.
Thank you very much, Mary Jan. And through you, how can council be reassured that mechanisms will be put in place to prevent this unfortunate oversight from happening again?
Well, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Kimson and the rest of council, we do have a current process in place. Obviously, there was an error in the start date. And we are reviewing how best we can mitigate that in the future. Obviously, automating it is likely the best. But what we'll do is once we've made that correction, we'll be providing council with an update of exactly what we have done to try to mitigate this in the future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, Councillor Roberts, you have that motion? Or do you? No, this is. Sorry, so the first report is item number 8.10, Municipal Significant Events, third quarter updated noise exemption approval. Please note that the report recommendation has been updated to reflect a late noise exemption request received for the Francophone Day flag raising ceremony to occur here at Civic Square this Thursday, September 25th. Councillor Roberts, you have that motion?
I do, yes. Thank you, Mayor Jan. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Earnshaw. Recommendation that report 25-007-CS Municipal Significant Events third quarter updated noise exemption approval be received, and that the requests identified in report 25-007-CS be approved, and further that a noise exemption be granted for the Francophone Day flag raising ceremony that is to take place on Thursday, September 25th for the purpose of permitting live music.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have one, please.
Sorry, who? Oh, Councillor Earnshaw.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just wondering about the timing of this report. A number of the events that were asked for approval on noise exemptions have already occurred. And I don't know, are we to see this sort of ex post facto after the fact, or are we to approve things before they happen? Because some of these events have occurred and some are yet to occur. Could I just have some clarification, please?
I think we would all like some clarification. Thank you for the question there, Councillor Earnshaw. Ms. Head, do you want to respond to this, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'll try to answer that. I see Alex has jumped off the call, but I can share that we are working through to try to get this information to you as quickly as possible. We are in a bit of a cycle where events come in out of the timing of a report going to council. So we are working with bylaw when we return the sound noise bylaw around how we can expedite or move these requests through a little bit differently, because you'll notice a lot of them are not in our parks, they're in public spaces, they're not necessarily the larger events that council really wants to be made aware of. So although we're in a bit of a loop on trying to get it, we're trying to get the most up-to-date events at the best time possible to council. So I know we're a little bit behind on a few, and if council can just give some patience with us, we're trying to get a faster process in place to to get ahead of those. So
Okay, so I think Ms. Head, that the concern here is that we're council's giving the noise exemption, but it's after the fact. So
yeah,
so to help us through that, you're going to, I understand you're going to try to improve that message.
that's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So I'll ask the clerk to call for the vote now.
Counselor Schwery,
In favor.
Counselor Devine,
Aye.
Counselor Kimpson,
In favor.
Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts,
In favor?
Counselor Cooper,
In favor.
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor.
Counselor Ermetta,
In favor.
Mayor Liggett,
In favor.
and that carries.
The next item for consideration is item number 9.1.2, Report 25-001-PG, Preston Secondary Plan Project Update. And Matt Blevins, are you here? Let me look and see. Throw your hand up in the air if you are.
Right here.
Where? Oh, there's a light bulb there behind you, so I couldn't see you. I couldn't see you. Okay, thank you. You're going to be doing a presentation, I understand?
Yes, I have a brief presentation for council.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council staff and members of the public. This evening, staff have brought forward an update report on the Preston Secondary Plan. Slide, please. In terms of the project, we have just wrapped up phase 2, which is the community visioning and opportunities for growth phase. So that was the first set of public consultation. And we are moving into phase 3, where we will be developing land use plan concept. Slide, please. As an attachment to the staff report on the agenda this evening, there is a more detailed a more detailed record of what information we received through the consultation process. And this summary shows up in the staff report as well. So in terms of engagement, we had 1,707 views on the project website, the engage page. We had a mail out to the property owners within the study area, pop up at the farmers market. There's a story map contained on the engage page as well. In terms of community-wide engagement, we had a drop-in session at the former bank building on King Street, as well as a community workshop. There was an online version of the survey included on the engage page as well, and we held office hours within the community as well. There were some focused engagement opportunities with students at the Preston High School, our community focus group, and the Preston BIA, as well as ongoing efforts for Indigenous consultation. Slide, please. So before council this evening, we have an update on the process for the secondary plan project. We also are looking for support from council for the purpose and the vision for the secondary plan. So taken from the report itself, in the slide here, we have the purpose. It's to guide development to meet future needs. The plan will encourage the housing mix, provide for a range of amenities, and create a place that residents are proud to call home and that people want to visit. Slide, please. The vision for the Preston plan is broken down into 4 key pillars. So we have community, nature, connectivity, and employment. Slide, please. For community, Preston is envisioned as a complete community with a mix of uses and housing options to accommodate all life stages. And it's important to ensure that the cultural and architectural heritage of Preston is celebrated and integrated as the community grows. Slide, please. Nature is an important component as well, as the Speed and Grand Rivers are cornerstones of Preston's natural heritage. It's important that the plan balances access to the parks and open space while still protecting those environmental features. Slide, please. Connectivity in Preston is important as well. not only for the community itself, but King Street serves as the main north-south corridor. It also links Preston to the rest of Cambridge and more broadly out to the region. It supports a vibrant Main Street and that important linkage to the planned Stage 2 ION. Slide, please. And then the fourth pillar is employment. So new employment uses will be encouraged to locate in Preston to contribute to a transit supportive densities. The former industrial lands along the rail spurs along the east side of the study area will transition to residential and other neighborhood serving uses. Slide, please. In terms of next steps, staff are working with our consulting team to complete a technical brief to show the information that's used to prepare a draft land use concept. We are hoping to release that draft in fourth quarter of this year, so towards the end of this year. Once that information is prepared, we will start a second round of engagement early in the new year. And then we will be able to hold a statutory public meeting of council once that engagement process has completed. Slide, please. So the recommendation as written in the report is that the Preston Secondary Plan, Preston Forward 2051, vision and purpose as outlined in report 25-001-PG be approved. And I'm happy to address any questions there may be from council at this time.
Are there any questions of Matthew at this time? I'm not seeing anything, Matthew. You've obviously Councillor Schwery, I see your hand waving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. And thank you, Matthew. I was just a little concerned as I'm going through it, and that there was not a lot of great participation. There's a lot of views, but not a lot of great participation. And I just want to make sure also when we do something, we have enough infrastructure, roads, water, and jobs prior to pushing this intensification. Because currently in my ward, as you know, the Preston Springs and the Crestview, where they're building across, I keep forgetting the name, but traffic is such an issue. And we just got to make sure before we push that we do have the infrastructure. And I was reading, and now I'm trying to find in the book here that we were given, it didn't seem like there was a lot of excitement in the residents for more intensification. Can you talk about that?
Through the mayor to the councillor, certainly. I think it's fair to say that perhaps you and I had different experiences through the engagement process, which are positions in the city. That's not surprising that we would have different types of interactions. There certainly were some members of the public who had expressed some concerns about intensification and density. It was my experience that a lot of those conversations revolved around where best it was to put the density, where it might be supported most successfully. There were certainly a handful of residents who weren't interested in having any more growth within the community. But in my experience, there was willingness from the community to have growth. And then certainly the very next topic of conversation after that was the traffic patterns. We have had one meeting of what we would call a technical review group. So that includes staff representation from the region, the city, school boards, the Grand River Conservation Authority. So we're moving into the more technical aspects to look at what we may need to do and what other policies or what other support there would be for future capital projects to look at some of those broader impacts. I'm realizing I might have strayed a little bit from your question. So if I've missed anything, if you can let me know, I'm happy to redirect.
No, thank you for saying that. I just want to make sure that we don't forget about the traffic, the roads, when we are so aggressive in trying to get more intensification. Thank you.
Through the mayor to the councillor, I realize I'm nodding my head in a virtual meeting, so I'll verbalize that I've heard that direction. Thank you very much.
Councillor Earnshaw.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett, and through you to Matt. I saw with gratification that there's Indigenous engagement ongoing, but you went over that rather quickly, and I'm wanting to know what sort of Indigenous engagement the city may be participating in.
Certainly, through the mayor to the councillor, we are in the process of setting up a meeting with Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We will have some materials to present to that group. It's a combination of relationship building as well as sharing of technical information so that we can get their input on the secondary planning process that we're undertaking. We are not currently setting up meetings with Six Nations, but we will be providing the same information to Six Nations that we're providing to Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation.
Mr. Bromberg, did you want to add to that? You've been involved with some of this, haven't you, with Six Nations at the regional level?
Yeah, I can share a little bit further. Certainly with our negotiations, or sorry, with our sharing of information protocols, as Mr. Blevins touched on, we're sharing all our planning applications as well with Six Nations, and we're engaged with them. Very similar to the other municipalities within Waterloo Region, and certainly this document is no different. Our experience is that Six Nations is very interested in terms of what we're doing and what we're planning with growth in our community, and certainly we value that feedback. Thank you.
I see no more questions. Did anybody have any comments? Councillor Kimpson.
Thank you very much, Mayor Jan, and through you. I had the opportunity to participate in many of the consultations with residents, and I found it interesting when we looked at the statistics that were provided for the people who were present at the sessions versus the actual online views, but those who took the time to complete the survey. And I just wanted to point out that we definitely got better engagement from the in-person outreach when we interacted with residents. And so I would encourage staff to continue finding unique ways to connect with people and to please not rely on the online surveys that don't have a very high success rate at this time.
Sorry, I'm telling everybody else to go unmute themselves. So the person who is doing that motion is Councillor Schwery.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Kimpson, that report 25-001-PG Preston Secondary Plan Project Update Report be received, and that the Preston Secondary Plan, Preston Forward 2051 Vision and Purpose as outlined in report 25-001-PG be approved.
Okay, and final call for questions. I see no waving hands. Final call for comments. No waving hands. We will call for that vote.
Councillor Schwery.
In favor.
Councillor Devine. Hands up. Thank you. Councillor Kimpson.
In favor.
Councillor Earnshaw.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts.
In favor.
Councillor Cooper.
In favor.
Councillor Hamilton.
In favor.
Councillor Ermetta.
In favor.
Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
That carries unanimously.
The next item is 9.2.1 Report 25-038-CRS Council Compensation Review Preliminary Report. Councillor Earnshaw, you have that motion?
I do, yes. Thank you, Mayor Liggett. But the motion has two possibilities in it, and I don't know whether I'm to read one or the other or both.
I can jump in.
Yep.
Councillor Earnshaw, you're welcome to put forward your preference as to A or B. It's left to the mover to determine which option they would like to put forward.
Thank you very much. I'm unaccustomed to that level of power. Moved by me and seconded by Councillor Cooper that report 25-038-CRS Council Compensation Review preliminary report be received, and that Council approve option A, third-party consultant, and direct staff to implement the required next steps. And further, that the associated consulting fees be funded from the Office of the City Clerk operating budget.
Okay, do we have any questions? Any comments? I would say that this is an excellent choice of the two options, and we will call for the vote.
Councillor Schwery.
In favor.
Councillor Devine.
Aye.
Councillor Kimpson.
In favor?
Councillor Earnshaw.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts.
In favor.
Councillor Cooper.
In favor.
Councillor Hamilton.
In favor.
Councillor Ermetta.
In favor.
Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
That carries unanimously.
Our final report is item number 9.4.1, report 25-015 IFS Energy Conservation Demand Management ECDM Plan Update 2025-2029. We have a presentation this evening from Kim Ireland of Stantec Consulting. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I believe the presentation slide deck is going to be brought up by the clerk. There it is. Thank you. All right. Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, City staff, and members of the public. I am pleased to be presenting an overview of the City of Cambridge's updated Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan. I'm Kimberly Ireland with Stantec. We worked with the city staff to develop the updated plan. Next slide, please. So I'll be providing an overview of the city's corporate level greenhouse gas inventory, the greenhouse gas reduction targets, and a summary of the reduction plan. The Energy Conservation Demand Management Plan, or ECDM plan for short, was prepared as required by the Ontario Regulation 2523, which is the broader public sector energy reporting and conservation demand management plans. It also meets the voluntary commitments under the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, short form for FCM, and the Partners for Climate Protection Program, or the PCP program. The plan was prepared with input from many city divisions and in consultation with the city's corporate leadership team and the Cambridge Environmental Advisory Committee. We are seeking council approval of the updated ECDM plan. Next slide, please. So first, I just want to provide some clarity between the community and corporate inventories. So Transform Waterloo Region Strategy is a collaborative initiative with Waterloo Region focusing on climate change mitigation with the goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions at the community level. The focus of this presentation is the City of Cambridge's corporate greenhouse gas emission, and that is also the focus of the ECDM plan. Next slide, please. So the pie chart on the left illustrates the greenhouse gas emission breakdown by sector for 2023 for the City of Cambridge. And buildings represent the largest part of the greenhouse gas emission inventory. Greenhouse gas emissions from the city's waste are a more significant part of the greenhouse gas inventory compared to previous years, since the methodology prescribed to calculate the emissions was changed. Future refinement of the waste quantity and composition is planned. Looking at the chart on the right, the greenhouse gas emissions are broken down by source, and we can see that natural gas use in buildings for heating is the largest emission source at 34%. Liquid fuels for fleet and equipment, so gasoline and diesel, are the next largest emission source, together representing 24% of the emissions. Results for the 2021 to 2023 are very similar to this. Next slide, please. The implementation of the initial energy efficiency upgrades provided in the previous ECDM plan, along with the greening of the electricity grid in Ontario, have resulted in an 11% decrease of greenhouse gas emissions between 2010 and 2018. Since 2021, emission levels have remained generally consistent and are above the 2030 emission reduction target of 50%, which is shown by the purple line. During the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent shutdown of services, emission levels only decreased by 35% in 2020. This demonstrates that reducing the frequency or quality of services will not by itself be able to achieve the required emission reductions. Next slide, please. To achieve the reduction targets, the ECDM plan includes a combination of new policies, programs, and projects based on the city's current asset inventory and available and anticipated available technologies. The ECDM plan assigns these projects or policies to responsible departments and estimates the potential reduction achievable if they are fully implemented citywide. Partial implementation of projects will not reduce emissions as much as forecasted. Next slide, please. The pathway to achieve the targets includes the anticipated 20% reduction through improved data collection regarding the city's waste composition and the tonnage. This is expected to be completed within a year with minimal budgetary needs. Both the fleet initiatives require the conversion of current gasoline or diesel-powered equipment and vehicles to electric options. The park's equipment consists of items like lawnmowers and tractors. For the fleet vehicles, the focus is on converting passenger vehicles. Some electric pickup trucks models are available, or some electric cargo vans can be used instead. With regards to buildings, the decarbonization of buildings is the largest greenhouse gas emissions and is the highest priority. This includes arenas, recreational centers, pools, and the Bishop Operations Center. Continuing to move away from natural gas-fired equipment to produce heat will be essential to meet the reduction targets. However, even with these aggressive targets, the forecasted emissions would only be approximately 43% below the 2010 level. Renewable energy credits or offsets will be required to achieve the 50% reduction target. Next slide, please. This graph provides a breakdown of the contribution of greenhouse gas by the various sectors. In the short term, it is anticipated that the largest decrease of greenhouse gas emissions will be from refining the calculation of the greenhouse gas emissions from the city's waste by improving the waste collection data, including quantity and composition. Other greenhouse gas reductions will occur more gradually from the conversion of buildings and fleet equipment to electric options. Next slide, please. By 2050, the complete conversion of passenger vehicles and parks equipment is forecasted. Solid waste diversion programs were assumed to provide a further 10% reduction in emissions. However, this forecast does not consider the new provincial recycling program, which may enable more waste to be diverted away from the city's collection points. By 2050, buildings and fleet heavy equipment are expected to be the most significant greenhouse gas sectors. While some electric options for fire trucks or garbage trucks are reasonable expectations by 2050, converting other equipment such as dump trucks, snowplows, and construction machinery is unknown. By 2050, all buildings have been forecasted to be converted away from fossil fuels and only obtain their energy through electricity. There is no potential to reduce this any further. Overall, initiatives resulting in the direct emission reductions are forecasted to result in a 69% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Reaching 80% reduction goal will require the purchase of renewable energy credits or offsets. Next slide, please. The initiatives to complete during the 2025 to 2029 timeframe are detailed in the ECDM plan and summarized in Appendix A2 of the ECDM plan document. The largest emission reductions will occur with implementation of the decarbonization plan for 10 facilities, which are the primary contributors, and fleet strategy, as well as the waste auditing. Other policy development projects, such as the Green Building Policy Review or Sustainable Procurement Policy, are also important supportive projects in order to achieve the reductions. Next slide, please. Financial impacts of the ECDM plan are detailed in Appendix A2 and are summarized here. The regulatory monitoring requires operational funds. The greenhouse gas team uses existing city resources to lead projects. Some capital funding is already in the budget, for example, replacement of the pumping station generators. And some funding may be needed for consulting services for policy projects. The majority of the estimated funds, 11.7 million, are for facility energy conservation projects for the city's 10 highest emitting facilities. And it is anticipated that grants will be available leveraged through the city's energy conservation fund. Next slide, please. The Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan for 2025 to 2029 provides a comprehensive roadmap for the City of Cambridge to reduce energy conservation or energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. Through strategic initiatives, effective implementation, and ongoing monitoring, the city will progress towards its sustainability targets and set a strong example for municipal leadership. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to field questions with support from city staff, from Paul Wilms and Mike Hauser. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any? Oh, there we go. Sherry.
Thank you, Mayor Jan, and thank you so much for your presentation, Kim. I just have a question. So I'm just reading my agenda here. Can you just explain what you mean by recognize green infrastructure as an asset class? So is our current green infrastructure not an asset class, or what would change there? How does that work?
I don't know if Paul, do you want to speak to that one? Or Mike?
Paul, are you able to respond to that question?
Yes, through you, Mayor Leggett, to Councillor Roberts. The asset class for recognizing green infrastructure comes from the regulations around asset management. So you'll notice in the plan, there's a couple of asset management plan type projects. And so that's proceeding on its own. That's not something that we're doing in the ECDM plan. But it is something that we can estimate through our work with the ECDM plan. So for example, our tree canopy or things like that, asset management plans are starting to incorporate, what do the city's green spaces contribute to emissions reductions and things like that.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much, Paul.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Earnshaw?
Thank you, Mayor Leggett. And through you, I'm looking at the list of capital expenses that will be necessary. And I believe Kim told us that the largest of them was almost $12 million for the decarbonization of the 10 buildings. My question is, if we're going to expend that kind of money, are there offsetting savings that we should be hearing about as well? Or are we looking at a pure outlay of funds?
Through you, Mayor Leggett, or I don't know, sorry, Kim, I'm jumping in.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to mention council received the decarbonization report. I believe it was in July. And that report looked at the 10 highest emitting facilities. It also outlined the projects in those facilities to meet the 50% target and an 80% target, and the costs, the capital costs, as well as the savings and the return on investment. So there is an offsetting savings associated with that. It's not, unfortunately, as high as the savings we achieved with the streetlights conversion to LEDs, but there is a savings component to that as well. Councillor, if I may, I had a note here on the savings. If you'll pardon the ballpark estimate, I think it was about 40,000 a year, but I might be very wrong in that. I would need to go back to the decarbonization study. What we did was we took the projects for the next 5 years, and we then extrapolated that and said there's 11.7 million projects, in capital projects, and the savings would be X. I can get back to you on X if you'd like.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jan. If I may add to Paul's response here, both the decarbonation study and this plan enables us to take the next step of some larger grant funding applications to the federal levels to seek significant grants that will help us undertake those projects that will help renew those buildings at the time of renewal need, as well as achieve those higher order energy savings that are identified in that decarbonation study.
Okay, that was staff answering questions. Does anybody have a question that the consultant that was hired to do this could answer? Okay, I see none. Thank you. Okay, the mover for this is Councillor Cooper. Can you proceed?
Comments?
Sure, go for it.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. I do have some comments that.
Okay, hang on a second. Actually, comments have come after the motion put on the floor. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Councillor Cooper.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Liggett. This is moved by me, seconded by Councillor Hamilton, that report 25-015-IFS Energy Conservation Demand Management ECDM Plan Update 2025 to 2029 be received, and further the Council consider the resources required for implementation of the specific initiatives through future budget cycles and grant applications.
Okay, well, everybody had questions for staff already. Now we'll go for comments. Councillor Schwery.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. So my comment is, I feel that we have to really be honest what the cost of these plans are to taxpayers. And also there's a correction on the report where it's on page 535 where it says current financial regulations will eliminate the sale of vehicles powered solely by gasoline or diesel in 2025. I believe that's not accurate. September 13, 2025, CBC had an article saying the federal regulation is under review, so it could be changed, strengthened, or eliminated. I just wanted to make that clear. So my comment is electric vehicles are not zero emissions. They use rare earth and minerals and will be increasing mining. Also, there's child labor used in cobalt mining in the Congo and slave labor in China for solar panel battery mineral productions. Our vast forests and Great Plains have used much of our globally insignificant CO2 emissions, but we continue to burden our taxpayers in the thousands each year because of these plants. In regards to financial impact, how will spending tens of millions of dollars do anything in terms of emission reduction other than make it more expensive for the general public? Will it do anything to change the air we breathe in Cambridge? No. Air moves around all over the world, taxing Cambridge residents while the culprits are China, India, the US, Africa, etc., does nothing. Also, electricity is expensive. Remember the fad that tricked homeowners way back into buying homes with electric baseboard heaters, saying it will save on electricity because you only heat the room you are in? Well, that was false. In the executive summary, it is stated on page 453, if the global trajectory continues, scientists estimate that the global temperatures could rise by 4 to 6 degrees Celsius in this century. But you will find other scientists that will say different. And since the beginning of time, the temperatures rose and then fell. So who is right? On page 454, it stated that the reduction from anticipated changes to the electricity grid will not even achieve the city's reduction target. And the city will need to implement additional measures. And then the next paragraph, you talk about the procurement of carbon offsets, such as solar farms. I think we should let the taxpayers know that these farms are very expensive, and they also disrupt wildlife. And then to minimize the necessity to purchase offsets, the city will need to be have further ambitious actions to reduce energy use within city facilities, services, equipment, and vehicles. Then my question would be, if that doesn't work to the satisfaction, what is next? Additional taxes on people and restrictions? To me, this is kind of sounding scary. So in Canada alone, net zero is estimated to cost us from 3 to 4 to $5.2 trillion, or $325,000 per household for a perceived benefit. Carbon dioxide levels are unmeasurable because we can never be able to distinguish between extreme weather or sea level rise from natural variation. I think we have to really think carefully. So please do. We are spending a lot of money for an insignificant change. Thank you.
Councillor Schwery, just for the sake of debating here, and not argument, just debating, but when you talk about fluctuation of climate change over millennium, that was happening without the added impact of human beings. And I think this report goes along more to that. But I want to go back to your comment about on page 535, where you say there's an error in there because it's not up to date with current decisions by the federal government. Can you repeat that? I couldn't find what you were talking about on that page under conclusions. You're muted.
I apologize. On page 535, or in brackets 84, they're both numbers there, it says current federal regulation will eliminate the sale of vehicles powered solely by gasoline or diesel in 2025. That's what I read. Unless I read wrong.
I'm sorry, I just didn't find that on there.
Sure. And
okay.
I can send you the article, but CBC had an article dated September 13, 2025 that states this federal regulation is under review. So under review does not mean for sure.
Okay, so Ms. Ireland, could you comment on that, please, since you're the consultant that wrote the report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So just for clarification, so at this point in time, that regulation is still in play. The councillor is correct that it is under review at this point, but as of now, it's still current. So we don't know what's going to happen. It could change, but as at the time of preparing the report, that was the current regulation.
Okay, so could you change this report to say that it is under review then, so that it's current to today?
That can be accomplished, yes.
Great, thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Finally remember to take the audio off. I'll try and be quick here. I really wasn't expecting to speak to this. But something came up that I just wanted to say. I remember these whole kind of, the climate change stuff and our effect on it came up a little while back. I seem to recall, I can't remember the item, but I know it was referring to carbon tax. And I remember doing, a fair bit of, research into it and looking at the numbers. And my concern is that we need to think very carefully and watch how much we are spending, how much we're putting on the taxpayer for this this concept that we're going to be reducing climate change. I'm just going to go through some of the numbers. I do remember, again, I don't have them in front of me, but I do remember that when you could wipe out Canada from the map, gone. Every single thing that we put into the air would disappear, and it would reduce the carbon in the world by about, I believe the number is about 1.5%. And like I said, I'm not going to talk about this long, but I do remember the fact is that we are not going to in any way have any effect or cure climate change on any noticeable level whatsoever by taxing Canadians or spending our money on initiatives that sound nice. But to Councillor Sweary's point, the vast majority of this carbon problem is coming from other countries. It's not coming from us. So I know it's nice, but I just want staff and us all to be aware of all this spending of money for what? That's what I would just like to make sure everyone thinks of. For what? Because it's not going to have any noticeable difference. Thank you.
Councillor Mehta.
Well, thank you, Mayor Jan. Through you, I do appreciate all the work that's gone into this report. And Canada's come a long way over the years. Back when I lived in Hamilton, for example, I remember going down the escarpment and not being able to see the city and the lake. And now, you know, the visibility is greatly improved because the air quality has improved. And that's the same for all of Southwestern Ontario. So anyways, I appreciate what we're trying to do here, but a major concern that I've got is the cost, and that even after spending all this money, we still may not be where we want to be. And, you know, I listen to what my constituents are asking for on a regular basis, as we all do. And what I've been hearing lately is they have a lot of needs that they don't feel are being met. And this is not one of them. Even though they agree it's an important issue, I've heard about some of the services that they want to see improvement and that not enough is being spent there. And from my perspective, I'm just wondering if we should reevaluate some things and, you know, shift priorities if that's what the residents are asking. I do believe it requires a lot of consultation, but the cost is a concern of mine. And I'm hearing from people who are not satisfied with some of the service levels. And I'm wondering if we should be doing more in those areas. Thank you.
So I will say that the motion is just to receive the report and that to consider the resources required for specific initiatives through future budget cycles. So we're not deciding today to spend money on anything in particular here. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett, and for you. I appreciated the report. I won't get into any debates on the science of climate change. I think the evidence is quite unequivocal. I think we can all agree that an investment in cleaning the air of our city, cleaning the water is usually worth it for present and future generations. And as I think staff in the report indicate, the majority of those investments will actually yield greater savings in the long run, not only in terms of cost, but in terms of health benefits to our community. And also psychologically, morally, ethically, when we're trying to do the right thing to fight a global battle, which is very challenging. So I found the report refreshing, and I'm trying to see, I look forward to seeing how these changes can be implemented feasibly in coming years, because I do think they are important ones to make. Thank you.
Thank you for that side of the debate here. Are there any other comments? I see none. So that motion is on the floor and we will call for that vote.
Councillor Schwery.
I'm not in favor.
Okay. Councillor Devine. Thumbs up. Councillor Kimpson.
In favor.
Councillor Earnshaw.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts.
In favor.
Councillor Cooper.
Opposed.
Councillor Hamilton.
In favor.
Councillor Ermetta.
Opposed.
Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
And that carries.
Okay, so the next item is other business. Does any member have any other business they wish to bring forward of anything going on in the community? I see none. Okay. Oh, there you go. Councillor Roberts.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor Jen. Sorry, I couldn't find my hands button there quick enough. I just wanted to say I got to spend some time this weekend in Dixon Park at the Festival Music Festival, and it was such a beautiful weekend of community and seeing literally from like little kids to seniors all singing and dancing and just having a great time together and the positivity. And I've already heard from business owners downtown about the number of people that ended up going back to their businesses to eat food and hang out afterwards. Was pretty great. So I just wanted to thank all the organizers who worked so hard to bring that festival to our community, because it was a really fun time for everybody.
Okay, I attended the Rare Walk Run Cyclothon on the weekend, fundraising for Rare. It was the most number of registrants they've had in their history, so that was a great event. I also attended the book launch and signing of Galt Arena 100 Years. It is an amazing book. The presentation was great. It, the story after story after story, and the photographs of all of the athletes that have come through our ice rinks, in particular Galt Arena, and then the history of the arena itself. I'm amazed we have that amount of stuff in our archives. And I want to give a shout out to Ed Heather of Hespeler. I think he's Hespeler or Preston. Mike, you might correct me on that one. He was the one who had all the old newspaper clippings since the beginning of time. So that research was covered. There was well over 100 people at that. Very well received. People were excited, and a lot of the athletes who have long retired were in the room, and they felt very, very good to be mentioned in the book. A lot of people in our community were mentioned in that book. So that was a really special event for me that I was able to attend. I can't think of the other ones. I'm sorry. Sometimes I have so many events on the weekend, I can't keep them straight in my head, but that's it for other business. I don't see any other hands up there. Motions. So we have two motions this evening. The first from Councillor Roberts is time sensitive and will require council to suspend the rules so that may be voted on at tonight's meeting. So before we vote on that, oh yeah, it says in your recommendation what it is, the motion. So can you go forward with that, please, Councillor Roberts?
Yeah, so I'll just read the motion to suspend the rules first. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Kimson. Recommendation that the rules and procedures set out in Procedure Bylaw 23-035 be waived at the council meeting of September 23rd, 2025 for the purpose of considering a motion relating to the commemorative naming of the announcer booth at Kinsman Stadium accessible ball diamond after Coach Mark Woodfield of the Buddy League.
Okay, and we will have the clerk call the motion on that.
Councillor Schwery,
In favor.
Councillor Devine,
Aye.
Councillor Kimson,
In favor?
Councillor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Councillor Roberts,
In favor.
Councillor Cooper,
In favor.
Councillor Hamilton,
In favor.
Councillor Ermetta,
In favor?
Mayor Liggett,
In favor.
and that carries.
Now you have that next motion, Councillor Roberts. Could you read that?
I do. Thank you, Mayor Jan. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Kimson. Recommendation, whereas Mark Woodfield has been a long-standing and beloved coach with Buddy League Cambridge, which provides adaptive baseball experiences for children and adults with disabilities. And whereas council deems it appropriate to commemorate the years of work that Mark has put into the Buddy League program at the Kinsman Stadium, now therefore be it resolved that the announcer booth at the Kinsman Stadium accessible ball diamond be named in honor of Coach Mark Woodfield in recognition of his contributions to the Buddy League program, and that a copy of this motion be presented to Mark Woodfield and his family. And if I can just quickly speak to the motion, that
Sure,
would be
go
great.
ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to say a few words about Mark Woodfield, who's a beloved teacher, volunteer, and community member. So Mark isn't just any kindergarten teacher at Moffat Creek. He's the Kindy Cop. That's literally his nickname. He's always smiling, always inventing ways to bring joy, curiosity, and wonder into his classroom. In his teaching, he believes deeply in learning through play and in getting the children outside, exploring forests, telling stories, discovering nature no matter the weather. Beyond his teaching, he began as a dad cheering for his son Mick at adaptive baseball and hockey. But it wasn't long before he became a coach with the Ice Hounds, a leader in Buddy League baseball, and the teacher who brought Challenger baseball into his own school through Jay's Care. Mark's love for kids, play, and inclusion make him a natural leader everywhere he goes. Anyone who knows Mark also knows his love of style, like his funky Nike shoes or his flashy Nike skates that make him look so fast, a part of his joyful presence and a little flair that you can't help but smile at. Since his diagnosis in 2021, Mark has continued to show the same resilience and positivity that define his teaching. Even on the toughest days, he would show up with a smile and an encouraging word. And when he couldn't coach on the ice or the field, he found a new way to contribute, stepping into the DJ booth, which is this space that we're looking to name after him, playing walk-up songs, announcing games, and building special connections with every athlete. The press box at Kin 1 has become his spot where his voice, laughter, and music lifts spirits and create lasting memories. Naming this press box after Mark is a tribute to his impact. It ensures that his kindness, resilience, and love of community are recognized in the place where he gave so much of himself. So thank you very much for allowing me to bring this motion forward tonight.
Okay, so we will call for that vote.
Counselor Schwery,
In favor, absolutely.
Counselor Devine,
Aye.
Counselor Kimson,
In favor.
Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts,
In favor.
Counselor Cooper,
Very much in favor.
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor.
Counselor Ermeda,
In favor.
Mayor Liggett,
In favor.
and that carries.
Just so others know too, Mr. Woodfield was a constant emailer to us to protect the forest lands in behind the school for teaching to his students. And I certainly appreciated all of the emails that I received, because without him notifying us, we wouldn't have known what was going on in that area. So a special shout out to him for all that work that he did. Very happy this passed through tonight. So our second motion this evening is from Councillor Hamilton regarding preventing the forced removal of unhoused persons during extreme weather events. This motion was introduced on this at the September 2nd council meeting. Councillor Hamilton, could you please read your motion?
Thank you, Mayor Liggett. And through you, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Earnshaw. Whereas there exist systemic housing issues and crises affecting Canada and the city of Cambridge, which are increasingly evident in the form of homeless encampments in our community. Whereas municipalities such as the city of Cambridge are on the front lines of the housing and homelessness crisis, yet do not possess the financial and jurisdictional powers and resources to fully address the housing and homelessness crisis. Whereas housing has been declared by the United Nations, the Government of Canada, and courts across the country as a human right, as laid out in Canada's National Housing Strategy Act, requiring municipalities to respond to persons without housing and/or living in homeless encampments through a human rights approach that respects, upholds, and prioritizes their human rights. Whereas climatic change is increasing the frequency of dangerous storms, polar vortexes, blizzards, winds, precipitation, floods, heat warnings, heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and much else that is captured in the phrase or driven by an extreme weather event. Whereas the forced removal of unhoused persons from encampments during extreme weather events may violate a citizen's right to adequate housing, unwillingly remove citizens from their familiar space of shelter or refuge where they manage and mitigate extreme weather, may dispossess citizens of their belongings that help to manage and mitigate extreme weather, and may potentially disconnect vulnerable persons from established networks of support and outreach services. Therefore, be it resolved that Council directs staff to report back in the fourth quarter of 2025 on the prevention of forced removals of unhoused persons during extreme weather events upon the issuance of a warning, an alert, or during the occurrence of an extreme weather event as determined by Environment and Climate Change Canada, and that the City Clerk notify the Region of Waterloo, the Waterloo Regional Police Service, WRPS, and outreach agencies working in partnership with the City and Region of this direction. And if I may speak to the motion, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank everyone, first of all, for delegating and for their very thoughtful comments. I know it was a bit of a shift moving from in-person to virtual, but I think everyone did the best they could. And I know this is a very challenging and complex topic. And I like the delegations that agreed we need to take the temperature down a bit because ultimately we are all in this together. I think we're all after the same things. Our opinions can vary, at times vehemently, but ultimately we're all residents of the city of Cambridge. So to start with what we have in common here, I don't think anyone wants to have encampments exist. No one wants to be homeless or experience homelessness. Not council, not our residents, not the businesses in our community, and not the social service agencies, outreach agencies, nonprofit organizations, and charities that work with our unhoused population every day to help them. We can all agree on this, that no one wants these encampments to exist. We can all agree that our municipalities are facing the brunt of a systemic crisis. It's a crisis of a lack of housing, affordable, supportable, transitional, a minimum wage that can no longer provide the basics for food, shelter, rent, a mental health crisis caused by the past closure of a number of facilities and cuts to our hospitals and medical systems that have been ongoing for decades, and of course the addictions crisis, from the overprescription of opioids to the current fentanyl crisis we're seeing sweeping the world. We as a city don't have the funding, tools, or jurisdiction to fully address this crisis. I think we can agree on that. In a perfect world, we would be able to say, let's build more supportive, affordable, transitional housing. Let's create more shelter beds. Let's build more facilities with the mental health and addiction treatment capacities that might affect some, but not all unhoused persons. And let's give millions of dollars of funding to the nonprofits and outreach workers that truly need it, that are out there in the field every day helping our unhoused populations, because they truly need it. And let's build those hospitals too. So in a perfect world, we'd have this, and we all want this world, but it's not the world we're living in right now. I think we can agree on this. And so what spurred this motion, and what I think will ultimately be a small but very impactful action that we as a city can take to start addressing some of this crisis, just a chunk, but not all, is to listen to some of our delegations that we heard from tonight, to listen to the stories and experiences of some of the outreach workers and academics that we heard from, to look at the evidence that they've submitted to us in our council package. And of course, I think we need to start from the July 4th letter from the Federal Housing Advocate. Canada's Federal Housing Advocate sits within the Human Rights Commission of Canada, and they're tasked with safeguarding the human right to housing that's included in the National Strategy Act, Chapter 9, Section 313. The Federal Housing Advocate was extremely concerned that we, Cambridge, were evicting unhoused persons from encampments, which is a human rights violation in itself if adequate shelter is not provided or available. But what was most troubling was that these eviction notices or evictions could have been occurring on extreme heat days. So this troubled me greatly, and I think we can all agree that council's job is to look after all of our citizens, housed and unhoused alike, and we're all beings that are worthy of dignity and respect. And I personally feel that with all the chaos we're seeing going on in the world, down south and overseas, that protecting human rights for everyone in our city and respecting those rights is important as councillors. It's also the job of council to examine emerging issues and try and be at the forefront when it does fit within our jurisdiction, right? We look at them with a rational, critical lens, and we're seeing the occurrence of extreme weather, climate change intensifying. The scientists show this, and of course, we can look outside our windows in the summer and winter and see things aren't the same as they used to be, and things are getting worse. So this motion comes from a place where I feel there's some action we can take to address this as a council. And to be clear, the motion that Councillor Earnshaw and I are putting forward tonight does not ask for any immediate changes to any city bylaw or city policy. Doesn't prevent any social service agency, partner, organization, or outreach worker from helping anyone unhoused in an encampment, nor does it prevent anyone from continuing on with their work. It does not endorse or encourage the existence or proliferation of encampments, because I think we can all agree we want to get rid of them however we can, but we're caught at the forefront of a very challenging systemic crisis. So what this motion does is acknowledge that we do have a growing problem here in our city, and how we're handling that problem is significant enough to have a federal advocate reach out to us with concern. And we've seen one of our delegations submit some of those letters that were given to unhoused persons at various times throughout the summer. So I feel it is important to us as a council to look into this process, to examine in greater depth what happened, how to avoid it in the future if something that should not have occurred according to our human rights standards did occur. And we could look at how to, for example, establish possibly a formal bylaw looking into this. I understand our current practice is informal. Could we have a formalized bylaw looking at this? And could that set an example for other municipalities? Could we improve the timing and the delivery of these notices? Could we put a date restriction on it? Could we alter the text so that it clearly states no evictions will occur during extreme weather within a particular range? Could we clarify if it's a life or death situation that, of course, we have to remove someone, if an outreach worker or agency who's trained in exactly this says, we've got to get someone out of here, it's an emergency situation.
Counselor
Now-
Hamilton, it's going on here.
Sure, my apologies. I think I'm timing myself. I'm almost done, I promise. I'm at 5 minutes and 40 seconds. I think I have 10 minutes technically under our bylaw, but I'm almost done. So what else can be done? And maybe the report from staff will say that there's nothing more we can do. Although I personally believe there is more we can do. I think we should look into it. So in closing, let's prioritize the evidence we have from our local experts, our social service agencies, our outreach workers that spend their days in the front lines helping unhoused persons. Let's prioritize the dignity of all of our residents, housed and unhoused. Let's work together and understand that our city is facing the brunt of a complex systemic crisis, and we absolutely need help and funding from other levels of government. And in closing, let's let our city know that we are safeguarding and protecting the human rights of all of our residents, housed and unhoused. And that is what we'll always do, no matter what. This is just seeking more information, and I know we can find something to change these practices for the better and set an example for other municipalities going forth. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions of staff? Counselor Cooper?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Liggett. I think I'm hoping that maybe staff can address really one of the core questions in this concerns stating whether we are removing people in extreme weather. Could staff maybe legal comment on that? And address maybe some of the particular specific ones that were brought up?
Liz or Brian?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have not forcibly removed anyone during an extreme weather event.
Thank you. And could you also speak to, because you wrote the letter back to the housing advocate and the housing advocate had false information, could you please tell us what you told her to clarify that false narrative?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, we clarified the fact that I just gave you, that we did not remove anybody and do not remove anybody during an extreme weather event. We also clarified the resources that we have available to unhoused individuals, heating and cooling centers throughout the city to be made available to individuals that are unhoused.
Thank you. Are there, Liz, did you want to speak to that, or was that enough?
I can speak to the two notices that were given were from two different locations, and when all trespass notices are issued, we do work with our regional partners in providing supports, and they're always it's a collaborative approach, and there's multiple visits, and the region is also involved when we do conduct any trespass notices. They are informed of that happening.
Okay, are there any other questions of staff? No, okay, any other comments? Councillor Schwery?
Thank you, Mayor Liggett, and I'll try to always be on point. This motion is asking staff to write a report just to confirm we aren't evicting people during extreme heat or cold are baseless, because we don't. And it will burden our bylaw services, which are already stretched beyond the brim. And I suggest we all read John McCash's, a local business owner's letter, where he stated that 2 people died by, I believe, his plaza. Life is precious. And if it was my child, I wish they would have been plucked out and forced into a shelter or rehab rather than die. As we noted even in the eviction notice, given they were given plenty of time to vacate, they rejected the offer of shelter. And this is common regardless of weather. And I find it very interesting that the motion is concerned with not evicting in hot or cold weather and not considering the harms encampments are causing to residents, business in the community. People who don't live beside them don't see the daily reality. Parents are afraid to let their kids play in parks and their backyard. One encampment was literally in the neighborhood of a neighborhood backyard. and people were seen walking, and the kids and the parents were worried that the kids walking home from school are alone, and they didn't even want them in their backyards because they're afraid for their children. And also businesses facing threat in plain sight, shop owners giving up on calling police because response is slow or non-existent, and have to live daily with threats of harassment, violence, and theft. This is not sustainable. We shouldn't have to reach a point where businesses feel forced to install electric fencing. I pushed for encampment removals in my ward, but displacement alone isn't a solution. We need coordinated enforcement, stronger police presence, and housing strategies that actually work. Allowing children to grow up in tents surrounded by garbage and syringes is not compassion, it's neglect. Allowing anyone to live this way is unacceptable. Leaving people in encampments during extreme heat and cold shows we have no compassion and no belief in human rights. Those struggling with mental illness and addiction do not have the capacity to make healthy decisions, and they should not be left on the street regardless of the weather. They need proper medical and rehabilitation environments where they can get real help. I would like to see more compassion to our residents, young families with children, and businesses that allow us to have jobs, put food on the table, and take care of our families. Residents and businesses deserve safety, stability, and protection. We can't have both prosperity and lawlessness. If we keep tolerating the current situation,
Councillor Schwery, can you circle it back to the motion? I know you keep trying there, but can you circle this back, please?
Okay. So the region is already spending tens of millions annually, yet lives haven't been improved as was suggested we need, and the crisis is growing. We need transparency and accountability results, not endless spending with nothing to show. True compassion means safety, treatment, and real solutions for the vulnerable while ensuring our community remains a place where families and businesses thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kimson.
Thank you very much, Mary Jan. I have a question about this particular motion, and I'm hoping it can be cleared up perhaps by Councillor Hamilton or Councillor Earnshaw. In the motion, are we speaking specifically to encampments on City of Cambridge property or other encampments regardless of location?
That question was to the mover and the seconder. Who's
Okay.
speaking?
Thank you, Mayor Liggett, through you. Councillor Earnshaw is a legal expert. I don't know if he wants to have a follow-up, but this is just a precursory report. So that could be something that could be answered in the report, the options that we would have on private and public. It's my understanding the charter applies to one, but not the other. Where does the National Housing Strategy Act apply to, and how would that reverberate throughout the city? So I think it's a great question, and it's reports like this that can help answer it for council and the public. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Councillor Earnshaw, who is here as a councillor, not as a lawyer.
Quite right. Thanks for reminding everybody of that, Mayor Liggett. I support the motion, but I want to start my remarks by giving a shout out to the bylaw people, the compliance officers, our ambassador team, and the community partners with whom they work as they address what we can all agree is a difficult and growing problem. We know that they work with the police force, they work with the region, they work with social workers, they coordinate with the fire department, sometimes the OPP and the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario. In other words, there are a lot of moving parts and they involve a lot of jurisdictions. And it's for that reason that, that's one of the reasons why Councillor Hamilton and I decided that what we were looking for was a staff report to see whether it was even feasible to have a collaborative effort that would involve all those organizations and cause them to pause any eviction proceedings that were ongoing during extreme weather events. But the other part that's equally vexing is the legal environment in which all these efforts take place. I know that none of us would support a motion that would ask to willfully disregard the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But neither should we disregard or dismiss the suggestion that here in Cambridge, the human rights of the unhoused may have been disregarded. And I don't say that they were disregarded in any intentional way. It could be inadvertence. It could be a lack of proper understanding of the complex legal environment. But we have a letter from the Federal Housing Advocate that suggests that we should watch our steps. It's a very serious concern that's been raised by the Federal Housing Advocate. And I'm the first to acknowledge that the legal landscape is in a state of flux. I don't envy the role of Mr. Boodoo as he has to try to steer us through an ever-changing world of law and keep us on track. One of the cases is going before the Court of Appeal shortly. That may give us some greater clarity. And of course, the Victoria Street encampment is coming up before Mr. Justice Valenti again. He may have a chance to clarify some of the issues in his first decision. So I don't envy the bylaw compliance team, and I don't envy our solicitors. So what am I saying? In summary, there are many practical and legal challenges and obstacles, impediments to the question of addressing encampments. But that doesn't mean, in my respectful submission, that we should simply throw up our hands and say we shouldn't do anything, we can't do anything. As Councillor Hamilton says, this is a small positive step. Some of the delegates also called it a small positive step to obtain information as to the ability of our compliance team, our legal team, to work with others to establish a collaborative system that would allow the cessation of enforced evictions during heat events. So I see this motion as really asking for a feasibility study. Can we do this? Is it possible? In the result, if the motion passes and we get that feasibility study, we'll put council in a position to reach an informed and evidence-driven decision based on cold facts and not on hot emotion. I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Earnshaw. Mr. Boodoo, could you please, again, it has just been stated about us, the human rights aspect. Can you also repeat to us what you wrote to the housing advocate with regards to her claims that we could be acting against the human rights?
Yes, through you, Mayor, Madam Mayor, and the Chair. I want to quote from the letter. It says the city is committed to following the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in its approach to unhoused individuals. I also want to look at some other things that are stated in the letter, which is the city supports the quality of life for all residents and visitors throughout the entire community. And it has been noted that debris and refuse at encampment site has become a problem. And there's also an acknowledgement that the city is in a unique position of balancing the rights of not only the charter rights of the unhoused individuals, but also the safety and security of everyone involved in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Boodoo. I asked you to comment because it keeps being repeated out there, and some of the advocates for the unhoused have repeated it. And since Councillor Earnshaw had mentioned it as well, that's why I wanted you to repeat that. Councillor Roberts? You're on mute. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Mayor Jan. Yeah. So I just want to start out by saying that in all the conversations I've ever had about encampments with everyone from experts, advocates, people who used to live in them, I have yet to hear anyone say that they think encampments are a good thing, that they're an ideal place for anyone to live. That is certainly not the conversation that anyone is having that I have heard anyways. However, we currently don't have the appropriate accommodations and supports in place for our residents, which leads to folks having to live in encampments. While we continue to advocate for more support from those upper levels of government for affordable and supportive housing, encampments are going to be a reality, unfortunately. But while we continue that work, it's important that we ask staff to report back to us on the prevention of forced removals of unhoused people, if it's happening, if it's not happening, what it looks like, what our current policy is. I think that's very important. based on the letter that we received from the federal housing advocate, who did raise those concerns that requiring people to move under these circumstances may constitute a violation of their human rights. At this point, we're not asking for any changes to any policy or bylaw, and we can continue to offer the same supports that we have, and whatever supports are available, I think it's imperative that we continue to offer those. But we are simply requesting a report so that council and the community can have clarity on what the practices are that we currently have in place and whether they align with our legal and human rights obligations. This information is going to help ensure that our actions are both compassionate and compliant, and because of this, I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you. So before I go on to the next person in line for comments, I just want to clarify something. There is shelter for those who are living in encampments. I get a regular report, a regional report. The only local agency who is at full capacity is the YWCA, their new location for women. They are at 100%. Even Cambridge Shelter Corps is not at 100%. And that's regular every single week that happens. What else? The region of Waterloo, the hotels that people are put up at are never at capacity. And there's only been 50 people in the entire region. Sorry, hang on, let me get that straight again. So the YW family motels, 50 units there have been taken, and then and that's consistent. And then the motels for all of the Waterloo region are 82, 83, and 85 consistently. And their percentage of being full is at 0 because they've always got room. So please, everybody, stop saying there is no shelter. There is shelter. If somebody is in extreme heat or in extreme cold, there is the ability for them to go someplace should they choose to go to. Councillor Cooper.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Liggett. I got some things to say here. I'm hoping to have a little leeway if I can, Chair, because while
Depends.
Yeah, no. I'm going to be speaking to this motion just as everybody else is. There's something very unfortunate directly related to this motion that I think needs to be said. And I'm going to do that now. If you can let me have a minute to do that, and I'll move on to what I would regularly say to this. What I'm going to talk to is how this motion was delivered and dealt with about 6 weeks ago. As many people know, it was in the media that we, due to legal advice, we just paused it because we needed the council to be updated with the very significant ramifications of this legally. And we had that report today. It was actually 55 pages, I believe. On that, I'm just going to say this. When any councillor comes forward to the media and shares what many people to believe is misinformation, a twisted narrative about what has happened that happens to probably
carefully here, Councillor
okay,
Cooper,
I will.
please.
When narratives, false narratives are put out there that vilify members of council, it encourages activities such as what has brought us here today, not at City Hall. There were narratives that were spread that eventually get put out there and enable their supporters to then spread that narrative that hurts the people sitting in the mayor's seat, that hurts the council, and hurts staff who have their competence questioned, and they can't defend themselves. This is what happens when people put out twisted narratives to their own benefit.
Okay, Councillor Cooper.
It's happened a lot, and I think it needs to stop. That's all I'm going to say to that.
Okay, now did you want to get on to the other stuff that you
Yes, I
wanted to
will.
say?
Thank you. I'm going to very much stick with this motion, which is about what is essentially the suggestion of the extension of time that encampments exist due to weather. I'm not going to be speaking to detox and treatment and the housing initiatives and programs that we all wish for. Everybody knows we need that. We want that. We're all on the same page with this. So knowing that the potential end result of this is the extension of the time that encampments exist due to weather, that requires us to understand what we will be exposing our communities to for an extended time. effects on the community. So I'm going to speak very briefly about what I've seen at these encampments in the 8 years that I've been involved in them, that I've studied them, that I've visited them. And it's unfortunate. Please don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just going to put out what I've seen. Other than encampment that I visited recently, where there was a lovely lady that I had a very good chat with. We hugged at the end of it, and I actually tried to get her a shelter at the YWCA. Other than that, bar none, over 8 years of the dozens and dozens and dozens of encampments I have visited, they have been a shocking example of mass amounts of hard drug use, but most of all, clearly stolen property. I don't like that I have to say that, but that's what I have seen. The videos and pictures that I have would shock people that are already probably shocked by what they think goes on in encampments. I've seen things, shelters burned down with people in them. I've seen axes being swung at people, and I've seen every bicycle I see, kid's bicycle, there's a child that's crying by the theft of their favorite Christmas gift. Now, we need to know this, because if we're extending people's exposure to this, we need to know what is there. And I just want to make it very clear that everything I'm saying is referring to the dangerous encampments, which happens to be, other than that one I mentioned, exclusively what I have found. I wish it weren't the case. But the fact is, the narrative that we are repeatedly fed that they are safe is false.
Can you bring it back to the motion, please, Councillor Cooper?
Any motion that extends the existence of these camps is a motion that extends people's exposure to that crime. Shocking levels of crime and shocking levels of cost to the community, which maybe staff can speak to. I can never support a motion that does that. I cannot support a motion that calls for us to leave people in the grip of addiction in dangerous encampments during the worst weather for any reason. I refuse to leave people to die at the hands of their own inability to make good decisions. And I also cannot support a motion that asks us to stop doing something that we don't do anyways. So that's something that could have been easy to discover upon asking staff. And it's no wonder because of that people believe this might be just political theatrics. I definitely don't believe it represents the wants of our general population. And a motion like this, were it to succeed, can become a foot in the door. How far does it go? Do we start saying next that we don't permit them, we don't remove dangerous encampments because it's raining? Do we then say, how about all winter? And all of a sudden you endorse encampments all year. I honestly believe that I will not support this, and neither should anybody here that takes their oath to represent the best interests of their constituents seriously. If people want help, we can offer it. If you want shelter, we can find it for you. But if somebody, and I'm talking about what I have seen, if people want to live in addiction in a dangerous encampment that contributes to the victimization of the surrounding community and businesses, just because the local shelter won't let you do drugs, unfortunately, I have to say that as long as I have any say in the matter, Cambridge might not be the city for you. There is another, I'm just about done here, this will take about 10 seconds.
10 seconds, I was going to cut you off.
There's another vulnerable community here that needs compassion. One that unfortunately, after all the delegates we've heard today, nobody has yet mentioned. The taxpayers in the city. They have rights too. The residents and their families. Their rights and safety will not be maintained by encouraging the continued existence of places that municipalities across Canada have acknowledged to be dangerous and unstable. Compassion must apply to everyone, and I see no compassion in dangerous encampments regardless of the weather. I wish I didn't have to say all this, but thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Devine, you're up.
I almost lost my train of thought here. Couple things. I am somewhat concerned, very concerned about what's going on in our community. But I'm also concerned about the influences from outside the community. All right. This lady that had written this letter, all right, I'm led to believe she's written letters in other communities. Okay. I can't even read my own writing. But we have to be really careful here. Okay, very, very careful. Whether I agree or disagree with the situation we're in, I really do believe, and as mayor and as council, we need to do a little bit of research to find out where these people are from, when they're coming, with the letters and the information. Okay, because a lot of these people are just if that's what they believe in, they're going to go out and bang the drum. Right, so I really do think we have to be careful. And I really have mixed emotions about this, to be honest with you. All right, I have mixed emotions. I mean, there's people that are getting sick on the street, but on the other hand, you look at the numbers, because I checked some numbers today, and I'm not sure we need to go this route at this time. And I also don't believe that we can have this done by the end of this year. This quarter, I don't think it can be done, completed. So I right now I can't support this in the structure it is. Thank you.
Sorry, I see no more comments, and we're just trying to get Counselor Armetta back online here. Sorry. Oh, yeah, we're going to take a break. He just needs to get back on the line here before we take. Oh, is he here?
Then we can finish this up.
Okay. Can you hit *6, Counselor Armetta?
Okay.
Okay, we're just getting ready to call for the vote now.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Call for the vote.
Counselor Schwery,
Opposed.
Counselor Devine,
Opposed.
Counselor Kimson,
Opposed.
Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts,
In favor.
Counselor Cooper,
Opposed.
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor.
Counselor Armetta,
Opposed.
Mayor Liggett,
Opposed.
and that's defeated.
Okay, our next order of business is the motion to receive. May I please have Counselor Armetta, would you like the clerk to read that?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Sorry, my camera is off here. Sorry. So this is moved by Counselor Armetta, seconded by Counselor Schwery, that all presentations and correspondence from the September 23rd, 2025 council meeting be received.
And I'll ask the clerk to call for that vote.
Counselor Schwery,
In favor.
Counselor Devine,
Aye.
Counselor Kimson, hand I see, Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts,
In favor.
Counselor Cooper,
In favor.
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor.
Counselor Armetta,
In favor.
Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
That carries.
Our next order of business is the consideration of bylaws, and Counselor Hamilton, you have that motion.
Thank you, Mayor Liggett, and through you, seconded by Counselor Devine. The recommendation that the following bylaws listed under the heading of Introduction and Consideration of Bylaws be enacted and passed. 25-059 being a bylaw to designate the property known as 231 Queenston Road as being of cultural and heritage value or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. 25-060 being a bylaw to designate the property known as 44 Wellington Street as being of cultural and heritage value or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. 25-061 being a bylaw to designate the property known as 58 Ainsley Street South as being of cultural and heritage value or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. 25-062 being a bylaw to designate the property known as 1370 Maple Grove Road as being of cultural and heritage value or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. 25-063 being a bylaw to designate the property known as 4 Veterans Way as being of cultural and heritage value or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. 25-064 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 22-044 being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking on highways under the jurisdiction of the Corporation of the City of Cambridge.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk for the vote.
Counselor Schwery,
In favor.
Counselor Devine,
Aye.
Counselor Kimson,
In favor.
Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts,
In favor.
Counselor Cooper,
In favor.
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor.
Counselor Armetta,
In favor.
Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
That carries.
So our next order of business is the confirmatory bylaw. Counselor Devine, you have that motion. Do you want the clerk to read it or are you ready for it?
well, I can read it. That bylaw 2505065 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the city of Cambridge be passed.
Thank you. We'll ask for that vote as well.
Counselor Schwery,
In favor?
Counselor Devine,
Favor?
Counselor Kimson,
In favor?
Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts. See your hand. Thank you. Counselor Cooper,
In favor?
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor?
Counselor Ermetta,
In favor?
and Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
That carries.
Now, just to be a little bit out of habit, normally it's Counselor Devine that has the close of the meeting, but you don't have that tonight. It's Counselor Cooper. Counselor Cooper, could you march us out?
It would be my pleasure, Mayor Liggett. This is for the adjournment moved by me, seconded by Councillor Kimson. The council meeting does now adjourn at 10:13 p.m.
Okay, we'll have that vote.
Counselor Schwery,
In favor?
Counselor Devine,
Aye.
Counselor Kimson,
In favor?
Counselor Earnshaw,
In favor.
Counselor Roberts,
In favor?
Counselor Cooper,
In favor?
Counselor Hamilton,
In favor?
Counselor Ermetta,
In favor?
and Mayor Liggett.
In favor.
That carries.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and contributions. And I know it's been very emotional for most people around the horseshoe here, as well as people who delegated tonight. So I really respect the fact that people tried to keep it level-headed. And staff, thank you so much, because I know that it's been difficult for you as well through the last few days or 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks, so I appreciate that, all the emotional up and down that you've been going